Hey, Slender Slayer. Nice to see you here. So yeah, uh, been a while since I streamed one of my fanfics, but here we are. Man, and yeah. So yeah, gotta wait a little bit for people to show up, as per usual. But yeah, reading Fazbear Fright, which is based off of FNAF 3. If you couldn't figure that out. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's the fourth fanfic of 7. 6.5 technically, because the 7th one was never finished. Which what can you do? Gonna write a monologue for my next chapter. Fun times. Oh yeah, sorry if I keep rubbing my eyes. I actually just put my contacts in like 5 minutes ago because I was just one of the stream, make sure everything was set up, that I could see I was wearing my glasses and see the glare across. I'm like, oh, that's right, that's right. That's why I wear the contacts during the video stuff now, because yeah, you can't see my eyes otherwise. Oh goodness. All right. And I apologize in advance if you hear any noise. Got a little I don't know if we can see her here. No, just barely out of reach. Barely out of reach. Got oh no, there she is. There she is. Hi, Truffles. Yes, sorry if you hear any noise or see me get distracted or anything like that, because it's probably gonna be her or Pepper in here. So, 'cause I can't shut the door or else they won't stop scratching at it. So yeah, they're a little spoiled. Hi, Truffles. Oh yeah, and they like the closet now. For some reason, they suddenly realize that the closet is there. I don't know why it took them that long to figure it out. Anyway, so yeah. Apologize in advance for any sort of distractions along those lines. Okay. So yeah, just gonna wait a few more minutes. Alright. So yeah, Fazbear Fright. From what I remember, I don't mind, I like it. Yeah, I figured nobody would mind. It's just, if you see me going like, or like looking like, yeah, don't be alarmed. It's just a cat. At least I hope it's just a cat. Because if it's not, we got bigger issues going on. And apologize in advance for my hair. Didn't really get a chance to shower before the stream, so yeah, it's got a little bit of a bedheadish look to it, but it is what it is. I still smell fine, so that's all that matters. So yeah, Fazbear Fright. From what I remember, I guess I was kind of more in the middle about that one. I know for sure there are some segments that when I get to them, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's suffering from we didn't know at the time itis, as I like to call it. To an extent, all the stories have, because obviously the story progressed as the games went on. But yeah, since this was our very first time having any sort of knowledge or interaction about the killer, we had to fill in our own gaps. And again, all we knew him as back then was Purple Guy, so we knew next to nothing about him. So a lot of things are gonna be fun to listen to in retrospect. I'm listening to you while I sleep. Your voice is soothing. Well, thank you. Thank you. I guess I won't be upset if you fall asleep while I stream, but hey, as long as you're getting enjoyment out of it, I did my job, I suppose. Hi, baby girl. Yeah, see it like that. For example, I just look off to the side. Yeah, because I got my little painter's ladder over there, which is basically just, at the moment, it's just basically a little shelf for the cats and a spot to place my VR stuff. So fun times. Alright, so I guess done enough waiting. Let's actually get into the story, shall we? Here we are. There we go. FNAF Fazbear Fright. Book 407. What happens when an old family pizzeria chain that was supposedly haunted finally closes its doors for goods decades ago? Why, you make a horror attraction based on it that features authentic relics, of course. And that's exactly what Eric Jefferson and his best friends Chuck and Guy have done. Eric has been given the job of acting as a security guard in the attraction, as well as promising to watch the place overnight. Guy is the greeter of the attraction and the collector of the decor. Chuck is the head of the attraction who controls management. So far, they found nothing more than some empty animatronic shells and wall decorations. They hope to find something more soon, or else the business will flop for sure. That's when Guy makes a breakthrough and discovers a secret, never-before-seen animatronic that just may be what this haunted house needs. But it's just for show and in no way actually haunted, right? Based on Scott Cawthon's thrilling game Five Nights at Freddy's 3, this story will give you spooks and chills, as well as answers to the questions we've all been asking, while giving so much more, while handing out so many more. 1973. Oof, that's been a long time. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What was it I saw? To put that into perspective, I want to make sure I'm doing my math right here. Okay. 1993 or 1992 is as far away as 2052. To put that into perspective. And that's just 90s. That's just the 90s. So if we're talking the 70s, we're talking 50 years ago. So yeah, in the 1970s are as far away back as, or same distance as the 2070s. To put that into perspective for you. That actually makes my brain hurt a little bit now that I think about it. Yeah, based on this description, though, I would totally get rid of this paragraph. It kind of doesn't fit. But you live and you learn. Everything else, though, yeah, I'd say that's a good description. Alright. Oh. Let's get into it. Fazbear Fright. I was in complete darkness, save for the red light from the exit sign. It was tempting to run back through the door, but I had just entered, and I had to go through the entire place. I had little choice. I slowly walked along the hallway. Aged children's drawings could be seen on the walls. They mainly consisted of a cartoon bear, but a few contained a purple bunny and a yellow chicken. I then turned towards the doorway on my left and found a new hallway going right with brighter lights. Or rather, one spotlight on the ground shining on my face. From what I could see, there was what looked like a yellow head on the ground. It was clearly from an animatronic animal. There were more drawings on the wall, as well as a broken mask. It looked like it belonged on some sort of puppet. At the end of the hall was a miniature game arcade full of old-school game cabinets. With the sudden dim background lighting, the lights on the screens seemed like the sun. The hallway went on towards the left a bit before I had to make another left and enter a new hallway. The lighting in here was dim as well, but I could still see more drawings decorating the walls. A little bit forward revealed a new room with a purple animatronic shell to my immediate left and a single blaring light shining out of its right eye socket. The only thing present on the shell was a head and a torso. I kept going forward and entered yet another room with another animatronic head to my left, only this time it was a red fox head with an eye patch covering an eye socket. The other socket had a light illuminating the hallway to my right, which was my only option to move toward. As I went down this hallway, I heard what sounded like a music box style song coming from the ceiling. It sounded familiar yet catchy. I turned right and found myself back in the hallway with the purple animatronic. I kept going forward though, and I found a hallway with a greenish tint. To my left was a giant glass window. A peek inside revealed what looked like some sort of office. I saw a black chair, as well as a few drawings. Oh no, the walls. Oh no, the walls. It wasn't even like I was saying on to. It was on the wall. Oh, whatever. Everything else was hard to picture. Finally, I made another left. Within a few feet, I saw a red-green hue on the wall. It was a door with a giant exit sign on it. I walked towards it, feeling somewhat relieved. Along the way, I saw an animatronic shell similar to the other one, but was brown. Eee! At the sound of that screech, I screamed loudly and bolted towards the exit door. I almost tripped as I pushed the thing open and ran for a few more feet before slowing down and clutching my chest. I looked up and saw two men my age on the ground with laughter. Their faces were as red as Super Mario's hat. Not the most not the I don't know. It's a weird description. That's a weird description. Finally, the one with the golden hair got up and wiped tears from his eyes. Dude, you should have totally seen your face, he said as he took slow, deep breaths with a giant grin plastered. Okay, I admit you got me, I told them both with a smile. Got you? The other one with a dark mullet and sunglasses asked. Dude, we scared the living hell out of you. Okay, yes, I admitted. But I think if you're going to be adding frights like that, it shouldn't be at the dead end of the attraction. Yeah, we're aware of that, Eric, the blonde said as he quickly got into a serious mood. Guy and I have been trying to find ways to add more scares besides the darkness and occasional empty shell. Was Mario even a thing in the 70s? No. The original Mario Brothers, I think, was 1983. But yeah, this story isn't set in the 70s, so it's not relevant. Yeah, this is set in 2019. I believe that's when this story is set. 2017? Sometime in the 2010s. Sometime in the 2010s, this particular story is set. I did like the use of that magic. I did like the use of that music, though, I told Guy. Where'd you find it? In one of the endoskeleton voice boxes, he replied as he readjusted his shades. Chuck said the old employee we're working with said it was called the Tor something March. Toreador, Chuck corrected. Well, I like it. Thought this book took place in the 70s. Nope, set in the 2010s. It's set after the first story. Yeah, this is the first sequel timeline-wise since the very first story, which was set in 2014. So, yeah. It's modern times, quote-unquote. Well, I like it, I told him. I really am liking how the place is progressing. And just in time for the attraction to open next week, Guy said with a fist pump towards the sky. Speaking of which, Chuck said with a smile, have you guys read today's paper? Guy and I shook our heads. Chuck grinned even more when he ran towards his car in the parking lot of the strip mall. He opened the door, grabbed something, and ran back towards us. Check it out, he commanded as he shoved the paper in my face. I took it from him and glanced it over. Near the bottom was a picture of an empty animatronic mask of a brown bear. Next to it read, Coming soon, Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. Local amusement park is getting ready to scare your socks off with a new attraction based on the unsolved mysteries of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Featuring actual relics from the decades-old pizzeria, this new attraction is guaranteed to bring back your childhood in the worst possible way. Opening next Monday in the Scottsdale Strip Mall, cost of $8 a person. Enjoy your sanity while you still have it. Okay. It literally even says it's an amusement park attraction, yet for some reason I have it set in a strip mall. I have no excuse for that. I have absolutely no idea how I never picked up on that. Ever. Like, the strip mall part was intentional, but I don't know why this part never clicked with me. I don't get it. Oh yeah, and I believe this is the first time it's ever mentioned what city this series is set in. Yeah, I went with Scottsdale. Obvious reference. I'm sure you can figure that out. But now, the FNAF series actually has a canon city location of Hurricane, Utah. Like, that's not just in the books. Like, we see in FNAF 6 that the lawsuits are based in Hurricane, Utah. So that's canon. So it's definitely cool. Definitely cool to see how that goes. How that is a thing now. Well, Chuck asked with a snug grin. Oh my gosh, smug. My gosh. I love it, I told him as I handed the paper to Guy, who began reading. I was thinking that maybe we could have a first week discount or something, Chuck continued. Like, say, 50% off if you're in cosplay. Do you want the place to be crammed with furries? Guy asked as he folded the paper back up. 'Cause you know nobody's gonna be dressing as BB or the prize puppet. Hey, anything to attract business, I told Guy. But let's wait until we start making a profit before giving discounts, okay? I then asked Chuck. Alright, fair enough, Chuck said in reply. Hey Eric, can I ask you a favor? Guy asked. Sure thing. I need you to watch over the place again tonight. Guy, I've been filling in your spot for the last 3 days so you can go out to the beach and party. Yeah, I know, but there's something more important I need to do tonight, for the business. Well, you're lucky I'm free again tonight. Fine. Thanks, man. You won't regret it. Well, I think that's everything we needed to do tonight, Chuck told us. What do you say we head to the bar real quick and celebrate? Celebrate what? I asked. The fact that we've come this far in making what will soon be the scariest horror attraction in the United States. I'll drink to that, Guy said with a raise of the hand. Why not? I finally said in agreement. With that, we walked towards our vehicles to head out over to the local bar. Chuck does have a point that coming this far in the project is a big deal. When Chuck first told me and Guy about the idea of making a haunted house-like attraction based on Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the unsuccessful family pizza place that had opened and closed many times in its history, I was a bit intrigued. The three of us had a lot of history with that restaurant. We first met each other at the final location that managed to stay open in our area. That particular location closed in 1997 due to sanitation purposes. It was rumored, though, that there was a darker reason. Anyway, we were all 6 years old when that restaurant closed, but that doesn't mean we all forgot about it. All throughout middle and high school, and even college, we have never stopped talking about the place and why it closed. We, of course, did our research along the way. Turns out the establishment started in 1966 with a different name, Fredbear's Family Diner. It contained 2 animatronic characters, each yellow in color. After reports of a child being murdered at the establishment in 1972, though, it then closed and was bought by a new company. A year later, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza came to be, with new robot characters and a new design. Unfortunately, that particular restaurant didn't last long. Less than a week later, 5 children were reported missing at the location, promptly causing that restaurant to close. Then, in 1987, it opened yet again with all new redesigned animatronics. That time, there was a report of a man getting severely bitten in the head by one of the animatronics. Apparently, it was a miracle he's still alive to this day. Many claim this bite never happened, but we have a reliable source who has proved its existence. From there, it closed again and finally opened back up in 1997, with yet another character and building redesign. Many claim the reason this restaurant failed was because of reports of mucus on the animatronics. People imagine that it's connected to reports of 5 more missing children within the year, but it was never completely proven. Oddly enough, a man claimed he earned employment at that particular building in 2014, even though it had been closed for years. He claims that after a week of working there, he suffered 2 broken arms and 1 broken leg. He and his sister both claim this is true, but the 3 of us have our doubts. Nonetheless, they've been helping us a lot with Fazbear's Fright, so we can't complain too much. Since 1997, 3 more Freddy Fazbear's Pizza had opened, 1 in different states around the country. They all eventually closed, though. We don't know the full stories on all of them, but we know that one of the restaurants was apparently using human meats in their pizzas. Of course, this info came to us from the guy who apparently lifted the curse of the other restaurant. Anyway, the 3 of us went to the bar and ordered our drinks. When they finally arrived, Chuck proposed a toast. To Fazbear's Fright, he told us he said as he raised his beer. To Fazbear's Fright, Guy and I repeated as we clinked our bottles together and started drinking. We could toast all we want, but the fact was, the attraction isn't fully complete. We need to find something truly scary soon, or this place will flop for sure. But what could possibly make this place so unique yet so terrifying? Oh, what indeed. First night. It's like... At 12 o'clock that night, I walked into the attraction the same way I exited earlier in the day. The office doorway was immediately to my right, which I proceeded to walk into. I found the black office chair right in front of the desk, as it was when I passed through earlier. I sat down and stretched my legs. I'd been standing up for a while, and then began looking around the office a bit. It's clear the guys did some work while I was visiting my aunt this last weekend. I could see some new additions to the room, such as some old bobbleheads of Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie the Bunny, and Chica the Chicken standing on the desk. There was also an old electric desk fan sitting right next to them. Between the door and the desk was an old box filled with empty animatronic shells. More specifically, they were the empty heads of the animatronics from the 1987 establishment. We were lucky to find them in such good condition. Apparently the company kept an unimaginable amount of spares. There was also an old paper plate doll with a red arm and a hook in the box as well. The doll was found in the 87 location. The arm was found in the 97 location. That arm could have been missed easily. It was found in the remains of the restaurant, which was torn down in early 2015. The most we were able to find in the rubble was that Foxy arm and 4 robotic endoskeletons in what we assume was the backstage area. Other than that, the office looked pretty much the same. We tried to make it look a bit more authentic by having crumpled up paper and empty soda cups all over the place. The guards we work with claimed that their offices were littered with the stuff. But not only was this room for show, it also functioned as the actual security room for the building. Speaking of which, I turned towards my right and found a blue rectangular button along the wall, and a monitor next to a small monitor flat against it. I pressed it and the screen immediately popped out and towards me, landing right in front of my face. Upon doing so, the screen turned on, revealing one of the rooms via the cameras. In the bottom right corner was a layout of the building, as well as the cameras I can access. I touched each camera button on the screen and flipped through a few of them to be sure they were working properly, which they seemed to be. I'd used the screen before, but since I last used it, I noticed 2 new buttons, a rectangular button reading Play Audio, and another one next to it reading Map Toggle. I tapped on the Play Audio button first. Hi! I jumped out of my seat when I heard that. It sounded just like the voice box of BB, one of the 87 animatronics. It also sounded like it came from the hallway where the camera currently was. I then laughed to myself. This must be here to give extra spooks to the customers. Man, these guys are smart. I then looked at the map toggle button. Doing so quickly changed the screen layout from the rooms in the building to the vent ducts. I flipped through them a bit and saw nothing but empty air ducts. But it wasn't just cameras in the ducts. There was a message near the top saying I can tap twice on a camera button to seal off the vents. I was confused at the purpose of this until I realized the vents were easy to access in this place. They probably figured this would stop anyone from going where they shouldn't. I flipped back to the regular camera and closed the entire screen by tapping on the blue button again. I then stretched again. I usually only have to watch the place until 6 a.m. when Chuck comes by and checks up on me. Suddenly, my cell phone started ringing. I pulled it out and saw that it was a guy calling. I quickly answered and held the phone to my ear. "Hey," I told him. Hey, glad you came back for another night," he told me in his signature Surfer Dude voice. "I promise it'll be a lot more interesting this time." "Oh?" I asked with curiosity. "What do you mean by interesting?" "We found some great new relics over the weekend, and we're tracking down a new lead right now." New relics and a new lead? Man, you guys definitely improved. I know, right? So let me update you real quick, and then you can get to work. Alright then. Since the attraction opens in like a week, we have to make sure everything works and nothing catches on fire. Whoa, what? When the place opens, as you know," he continued, completely ignoring me, "people will come in from the opposite end of the building and work their way towards you, past you, and out the exit." "Wait, what do you mean by you? You don't mean me, do you?" "Oh, Chuck didn't tell you?" "Tell me what?" "That you've officially become part of the attraction." "What does that mean?" "It means you'll be starring as a security guard." He was kind enough to finish that sentence at a sing-song tone. "Excuse me?" "So not only will you be monitoring the people in the cameras as they pass through, to make sure nobody steals anything or makes out in the corner, but you'll also be part of the show. It'll make it feel really authentic, I think." "Hold up, I thought we agreed that you'd be the security guard should we ever have one." Chuck and I talked over it and decided that I would make a better greeter, and since you're generally quiet and kinda creepy, you'd make a better guard and scarer." "Well, I'll try to find a compliment in there somewhere." "Don't bother, there isn't one. Now, let me tell you about what's new. We found another set of drawings, always nice, that it is, and a foxy head, which we think could be authentic. Then again, it might just be another crappy cosplay. Well, we've definitely seen our fair share of those while looking through the buildings. And we found a desk fan. Very old school. Metal, though. Watch the fingers." "Yeah, I see it on the desk. Very cool and fitting." He then just chuckled. Right now, as you know, the place is just, flashing lights and spooky props. I honestly thought we'd have more by now." "Same here, bud." If we don't have something really cool by next week, Chuck and I agreed we may have to suit you up in a furry suit and make you walk around saying boo." "Hold on, why would I have to do it?" "Again, 'cause you look kinda creepy." "Just 'cause I'm 6'3" and weigh 140 pounds doesn't mean I'm creepy." Yeah, man. But like I said, we're tracking down a good lead right now. Some guys who helped design one of the buildings said there was like an extra room that got boarded up or something like that. So we're gonna take a peek and see what we can find. For now, just get comfortable with the new setup. Alright, sounds good. As you know, you can check the blue cameras over to your right with the click of that blue button. Of course I know that. I've been covering your shift for a while now. Yeah, but now you can toggle between the hall cams and the vent cams. Yeah, I found that new feature already. But what's also new is over on your far left, you can flip up your maintenance panel. My what? I then looked over at the far left and saw a new screen on the other side of the room, right by the doorway. I rolled the chair over to it and pressed the power button on the bottom right of it. It instantly turned on, revealing 4 lines of text. Audio devices, camera system, ventilation, and reboot all. Yeah, you could use those to reboot any systems that may go offline. Well, that shouldn't be too much of an issue, right? And then you heard him give an uneasy chuckle. Well, in trying to make this place feel vintage, we have overdone it a bit. Some of this equipment is barely functional. Say what? Yeah, I wasn't joking about the fire. That's a real risk. I'm glad my partner's telling me these things. The most important thing you want to watch for is the ventilation. Why's that? Look, this place will give you the spooks, man. And if you let that ventilation go offline, then you'll start seeing some crazy stuff, man. Keep that air flowing. Aye, aye, Captain, I told him in a sarcastically joking manner. Okay, keep an eye on things. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Keep an eye on things, and we'll try to have something new for you tomorrow night. Alright, sounds good. He then hung up, as did I. I then put my phone back in my pocket and stretched yet again. I leave for one weekend, and it's like they completely renovate the place. Oh well, I suppose it's for the better. With all this fancy security, and apparently maintenance equipment, you'd think we would have spent all the money in our budget allowed by now, but we actually still have a decent amount left over. Since most of our decorations are from the old locations across town, we didn't spend more than a few $100s total for all of it. The building itself was built in about a year for a very low price. We got map layouts of the restaurants and tried to recreate the style of the buildings, yet make it original. Thankfully, we hired a construction crew that helped build the 1997 restaurant, so they knew what they were doing. I truly am surprised that they'd ultimately want to rebuild another location with a connection to Freddy Fazbear Pizza, though. Overall, I'm happy with the way this whole project turned out. We got to relive our childhoods, and will eventually ruin everyone else's. I just can't wait until next Monday. The rest of the night consisted of me sitting in the chair while playing on my phone. You know I must have been bored, though, when I started playing Flappy Bird. I don't know what's a bigger shock, the fact that I have this on my phone or the fact everyone's forgotten about the game. As did I, till just now. At any rate, I barely managed to beat my high score of 102 with 103. Not much, I know, but it's still improvement. Oh. Can you tell that this story was written in 2015? Can you tell that this story was written in 2015 with a reference like that? Oh my gosh. Finally, after what seemed like forever, I heard a chiming above me. I looked at the digital clock above the giant window and saw it change from 5:59 a.m. to 6 a.m. The clock was found in the 1987 location. We were surprised the battery and sound still worked. We did change the colors of the LED lights from red to puke yellow to make it look more creepy, though. Almost as if on cue, the door next to the office opened up and a familiar friend of mine walked in. Hey, Eric, Chuck said with a nod and a smile. How did it go? Well, Guy called and explained the new additions you've made over the weekend. Yeah, we certainly made a lot of them. We both then gave a chuckle. Well, I'm starving, he said. Who wants some breakfast? Of course. Great. I told Guy to meet us at IHOP in a few minutes. Sounds like a plan. We both then left the office, left and locked up the building, and walked over to the restaurant. We now only have to wait a week until the place officially opens. Why can't time just skip forward quickly? Oh, my goodness, Eric. 12 a.m., June 26th, 1973. Yeah, for some reason, I don't know if people just don't read titles or if I just didn't convey things properly, but so many people were so confused about this segment thinking that this was Eric or someone. It's just like, well, it was definitely someone, but they thought it was like Eric, like they thought it was just a direct continuation from what just happened. even when these scenes kept happening, people were still thought it was Eric doing stuff. It's just like, no, it's a flashback, people. It's clearly it's a flashback. This is a flashback, people. Whatever. Yeah, viewer discretion is advised because yeah, this is definitely one of the more memorable moments, or a whole memorable series of moments, and definitely a prime example of show. It's in retrospect, knowing what we know now about Purple Guy. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly give William Afton this personality. That's just me though. But yeah, I wouldn't call this William Afton at all. As I walked through this shitty restaurant, I looked at all the walls and decorations, drawings of those stupid mascots everywhere. It sickened me to see all of these pieces of garbage. But no matter, by the time I'm done with this place, there will be more to worry about than the drawings. I held up my remote control and pressed the big red button. If my frequencies were correct, then only one of those stupid things should be moving right now. Sure enough, I heard one start playing its damn recording. Hey kiddies, it's your old pal, Freddy Fazbear. God, I hate that thing. But that's all the more reason I'm gonna enjoy this next part. I then pulled out my walkie-talkie, which was linked to the overhead PA system, and held it to my mouth. Hey, I shouted into the radio. Freddy Fuckface, you suck. Oh my gosh. I couldn't even say that with a straight face. I don't think I can say that with a straight face. Uh-oh, looks like we got ourselves a potty mouth over here. We don't like those here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oh yeah? Come and find me and just try to do something about it, you ugly piece of shit. If you keep being naughty, I'm afraid we'll have to tell your parents about this. As the hunk of metal said that, I could hear it slowly walk off the stage. I then put my mouth away from the radio and shouted, Go ahead, just try and stop me. I then smiled as I heard the thing walk closer and closer to me. I made sure I was in the room completely first, just to be safe. I then finally saw it turn the corner and see me. Well, hey there, kitty. Oh, go to hell, you robotic asshole. Uh-oh, looks like we got ourselves a potty mouth over here. It then walked towards me as it kept talking about how they don't like potty mouths at this damn restaurant. Well, you know what? I don't give a shit about what this place thinks. I never, ever did. Okay, so for context, at the time, I'd written the Purple Guy as just being a disgruntled employee. Like, because that's basically what the theory was at the time. The only thing we knew about Purple Guy, for sure, besides, like, you know, the stuff we see in the story, is that he was an employee. That was basically all we really knew for sure. So, he at least worked there and was knowledgeable at the place. So, I basically just wrote him as a nameless, disgruntled employee. Whew, I need to stretch the legs there. Finally, it was right in front of me. It was about a foot away from touching me, but it didn't. Before it could come any closer, it just stopped and backed up a footstep. A second later, it stepped towards me again, but again backed up. It then kept repeating this process over and over again. I just smiled. Oh, what's wrong? I asked in my most exaggerated, concerned voice. Are you stuck, little guy? Hey, kids, it's your old pal, Freddy Fazbear. Oh, you can't enter this room, can you? No. I hope you enjoy your stay here with me and my buddies. Gosh, it'd be a real shame if I did something that you couldn't stop it, would it? Our pizza is absolutely to die for. Yeah, maybe if it was something tragic like this. Let's strike up the back. I smacked the brown sack of shit right in the head with a spare pipe. It toppled over backwards and started spazzing out. Hey kids, it's your old pal Freddy Fazbear. I walked out of the room and swung the pipe again. This time I made sure it landed directly in the giant black nose of his. I hope you enjoy your stay here with me and my buddies. Crash! I hit it one more time and it stopped moving. I deeply exhaled. I'm still gonna cringe every time I see that. I deeply exhaled and looked at the busted robot. It stopped moving completely. I smiled and reached down towards the animatronic. Looks like the show's over for you, Freddy, I told him quietly. I then stood back up and turned around towards the room and smiled. What did you think of the show? I asked. No response except some loud muffles. What was that? I asked as I cut my hand around my ear. You thought it was amazing? I then laughed as I replied, So did I. I then walked into the room, still wielding the pipe. Now, I continued, which one of you lucky saps would like to help out your old pal Freddy Fazbear? I didn't get much of a verbal response, just muffled screaming and crying. No volunteers. I then looked over the group, trying to find a good candidate. Ah, I finally said as I pointed to one of them. You look like you want to help Freddy. She responded by squealing loudly through her gag and shaking her head violently. Oh, no need to be shy, I replied as I bent down to her level. He'll thank you for it. I know he will. I then held the pipe up above my head. She started screaming even louder, as well as the rest of them. Shut up, I told them all. The more you argue, the more painful it'll be. I then looked my chosen candidate for Freddy directly in the eye. Her blue eyes were watery and her tiny face was red. I smiled as I looked at her. I hope you enjoyed your stay at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, I told her calmly. I then swung the pipe down. Yeah, definitely one of my more twisted things I've ever written. All those segments definitely were some of the more twisted things I ever wrote. New merchandise. Where do you want this, Chuck? Right there, next to the others. You got it. Come on, guys. I walked to the attraction a few hours later and heard those phrases coming from the middle of the building. Intrigued, I walked towards it. I made it to the makeshift arcade and found Chuck directing a bunch of guys who were moving a game cabinet on a furniture dolly. Can you pick up the pace here, people? Chuck told the men. We don't have all day. The men groaned as they tried moving it faster. Finally, they got to the end of the row of machines and deeply exhaled. It looks nice, guys, Chuck told them. That'll be all for now. Thank you. The men smiled, nodded, and walked away from the room. What's this? I asked as I walked towards my friend. This, he replied with a sneaky grin, is a game cabinet we found in the 87 location. I thought we cleaned that place of everything. So did I, but guy got a tip that this bad boy was hidden in the storage area. Okay, but we have enough arcade machines. Why do we need this one? Because, unlike the others, he then reached down towards the back of the machine and plugged it into the electrical socket. Almost immediately, the screen lit up, revealing some sort of game selection menu. This one actually works, he finished as he stood back up. I'll be damned, I gasped. What are the odds? I know, right? He replied. Check it out. It's got 3 games on it based on the characters. I took a look at the selection of games. There was BB's Air Adventure, Mangle's Quest, and Chica's Party. Huh, only 3? I asked, and none are based on Freddy? Well, there are apparently more, but this is the only one left. Ah, wait, I thought Mangle was just a nickname for the Foxy they had at the time. So did I. Huh, weird. I kind of want to give this thing a shot. Knock yourself out. He then pulled out a quarter and handed it to me. I gladly accepted it and put it in the machine. I then looked at the game options and tried to find one that looked worth playing. How about the BB one? Chuck asked. I mean, they'll all probably be cheesy, but it looks the most fun. I shrugged and selected BB's Air Adventure. Instantly, I was greeted by a blue box with a bunch of lines, the same color inside of it. I could also see a small 8-bit model of BB. He looked more like a spooky clown, but that's old school technology for you. Lastly, there was a bunch of red balloons scattered all over the screen. A giant number 8 could be seen in the top right next to a picture of one of the balloons. Looks like you just gotta collect all the balloons, I said aloud to nobody in particular. I then used the joystick on the machine to move the little BB across the screen, and when I pressed the jump button to make him, jump. I scrolled along the platforms, collecting the balloons. One by one, the number of the remaining balloons decreased. Finally, I collected all the balloons on the screen. When I did, a white exit door appeared where I started. Huh, cheesy as I thought, Chuck mumbled. Hold on, I said in a confused voice. It says I still have 1 balloon left. I was right. Next to the balloon icon in the top corner was the number 1. You realize this thing is 30 years old, right? Chuck asked. It's bound to be buggy. Yeah, I guess so. Besides, it's just for decoration. That's true, I suppose. Anyway, I gotta head out, he concluded as he looked at his watch. Where are you going? I'm going to meet Guy at the 73 location. He said he found a big break there. Like what? Not sure. He just said it would, and I quote, make this place spookier than Satan's dungeon, man. I really don't get that, man. Same here. Anyway, wanna come with? Nah, I'm good. Alright, suit yourself. He then walked out of the arcade and eventually out of the building, leaving me alone. I looked back at the new game machine. It looked like it shouldn't be bugging me this much, but something seemed too weird about that thing, and I planned to figure it out. But for now, I need to call the local radio station about possibly doing advertisements. Yeah, in hindsight, I don't think I ever actually did anything with that. You know, the whole, like, I'm gonna figure out what's going on with that thing. I believe my original plan was to... Because for those of you who don't know, in FNAF 3, there are hidden mini-games you unlock through secret ways. And the mini-games you unlock are things like BB's Air Adventure, Mango's Quest, Chica's Party, stuff like that. And you can play the games normally, but like, you know, in the BB instance, like, you collect all the balloons and you can exit, but there's still a balloon left. What you basically have to do is basically break out of bounds to find the last stuff. And basically when you complete all the mini games in the correct way, that's how you get the good ending. So I think I planned to do, like, have him play more of the mini games, but I don't think that ever came through. Well, I know it never came through, but I don't remember why I stopped doing that. Knowing me, I probably just forgot I even added that detail in the first place, because I like doing plot holes when I was writing these stories, because I just write it all in one. I just write them all and just never look back. Write all the parts one at a time and never look back. Second night. I was back at the security office yet again that evening. Guy claimed he needs to talk to one of the old guards about something awesome, man. I had little choice but to accept the role yet again. Not that it mattered. Ever since we came this close to completing the attraction, I've had a lot of free time. I really am grateful Chuck and Guy made good progress. When the clock above me rang midnight, I instantly gave a yawn. I could tell this was going to be another long, boring night as usual. A minute later, my phone rang. I saw it was yet again Guy. I answered, making sure not to release all my anger from his laziness on him. Yeah? Hey man, he said in a cheerful voice. Okay, so I have some awesome news for you. Oh, and what's that? First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric. Compared to now? Of course they are. What's on them exactly? I think they're like training tapes for like other employees or something like that. Wow, nice find. Yeah, so I thought we could like have them playing over the speakers as people walk through the attraction. Dude, that would make this feel legit, man. No doubt. But I have an even better surprise for you, and you're not going to believe this. What is it? This certainly piqued my curiosity. What is it? I asked. Even though we were on the phone, I could tell Guy had his signature sneaky grin glued on his face. Finally, he spilled the beans. We found one. A real one. I feel like I should know what he's talking about. Unfortunately, I wasn't too sure. What do you mean? I asked. What did you find? Oh, sorry, gotta go, man. Well, look, it's in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it. That's reassuring. Okay, then. Okay, I'll leave you with some of this great audio I found. Talk to you later, man. Before I could say goodbye back, I could hear him move his phone away from his face and onto what sounded like a table. I then heard what sounded like a click, probably from an old-school cassette player. Suddenly, I heard a new voice play through my phone speaker. Also, can we give a little rip for, Hi, Pepper. Can we give a rip for Phone Dude for never appearing again in the games? Makes you want... I always thought I was confused that we never hear from Phone Dude again. Hi, Pepper. Oh, your baby girl. Oh. I heard a new voice played through my phone speaker. Hello. Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. This almost sounded like Guy, if Guy's voice was higher and he didn't have that stupid surfer dude voice. Little on the nose there. Little bit on the nose. These tapes will provide you with much needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Wait, climbing in and out of mascot costumes? Since when was that a thing? That's the purpose of a costume, Eric. A costume is made to go in and out of. That is the whole... Oh, and I thought Mike was an idiot. I thought Mike was an idiot. Oh, at least Mike would never ask when is it possible to go into to wear a costume. Right now, we have two specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please pay close attention while learning how to operate these suits, as accidents / injury / death / peripheral and grotesque maiming can occur. Damn, are these suits that dangerous? First, we will discuss how to operate the mascots when they are in animatronic form. For use of operation, the animatronics are set to turn and walk towards sound waves, giving an easy and hands-free approach for making sure the animatronics stay where the children are for maximum entertainment / crowd-pleasing value. Huh, actually pretty smart. Of course, the animatronics from the 87 location had a similar feature, and they didn't turn out so well. To change the animatronics to suit mode, insert and turn firmly the hand crank provided by the manufacturer. Turning the crank will recoil and compress the animatronic parts around the sides of the suit, providing room to climb inside. Huh, not bad for old school technology. Please make sure the spring locks are fastened tight to ensure the animatronic parts remain fixed. We will cover this in further detail in tomorrow's session. Too bad I won't hear it, unless, Guy decides to make me listen to them. Remember to smile, you are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. With that, I heard silence and hung up. Well, as interesting as that was, I'm not sure that playing that over the speakers will be as effective as Guy thinks. I then decided to check the cameras, just trying to see what Guy was talking about when he said they found one. There are plenty of things we've been trying to find from the restaurants that we haven't gotten a hold of. Was it a uniform? Nah, he wouldn't be that excited about that. A pizza recipe? As much as Guy loves pizza, I don't think making a Freddy Fazbear pizza would make him too excited. That's when I saw something in the arcade. Something I hadn't seen before. I could have just been imagining things, but I think I saw a yellow arm on the edge of this camera. It was a dark, almost brown shade of yellow. What was that thing? I suddenly saw bits of wire sticking out of the elbow. Then it hit me. A yellow arm. Wires. Guy's excitement. It was an animatronic. But it was too dark of a yellow to be a Chica model. So who was it? Hi, Pepper. I was tempted to walk over to it and check it out, but I could always do that after my shift. For now, I need to make sure everything else is safe and secure. I flipped to the entrance of the attraction, all the way to the other end of the building. Yep, Springtrap. Nothing there. Of course, why would anyone even think of walking right through the entrance? Then again, criminals tend to be pretty stupid sometimes. For whatever reason, I couldn't get that animatronic out of my mind. What was that thing? I don't think it was part of the Freddy Fazbear band, was it? I then flipped back to the camera where I saw it. When I did, I paused. I could have sworn this was the camera where I saw it. I checked the other camera in the arcade and I nearly jumped out of my seat. Right next to the game cabinet at the end was a figure with yellow skin and glowing eyes, looking right at the camera. I thought for sure it wasn't there when I first saw it. Was I going crazy? Anyway, I got a better look at the animatronic. It definitely looked old and withered, which is understandable if it came from any of the restaurants. Parts of its skin were torn away, exposing much of the metal endoskeleton underneath. As for what, or who, it was supposed to be, I'm not sure. After dying from his own suit has been... Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially now that we know what we know about who this guy is, yeah, it ultimately is... I mean, it was all already irony by the fact that he died from being stuffed into a suit. But yeah, but the fact that he's the guy who created the suits is just the icing on top. Have a skeleton in that. Well, I mean, skeletons don't decompose, but it's more the fact I'm more surprised that he has any flesh left. That's more the surprising stuff, that all of his flesh hasn't decayed after 30 years in total darkness. But yeah, the skeleton, yeah, that's not really surprising, because yeah, skeletons don't decay. Or at least they don't disintegrate into nothing like everything else does. It had 2 long ears on top of its head, like a bunny rabbit. Only the right was half missing. I only know of one bunny in the Freddy Fazbear line, and it's the exact opposite color of the one in the arcade right now. Furthermore, its eyes looked too metallic, not cartoony and kid-friendly like the other animatronics. Perhaps it's an older model? I'll have to ask Guy about it. I closed the camera and rubbed my eyes. I then looked at the clock. Oh, that it's still on the suit? Well, I mean, it's a spring trap for a reason, I suppose. Honestly, the fact that he has any bones intact still is honestly the truth. Is honestly the true amazing part, because yeah, just imagining what those spring locks will do once they. Ugh. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that infamous voice clip of the fan made voice clip of Purple Guy getting crushed. I closed the camera and rubbed my eyes. I then looked at the clock. 12:15 a.m. Ugh, this night is taking forever. I then let out a huge yawn. I then decided to do something I never thought I'd find myself doing. I rested my head on my desk and closed my eyes. I smiled as I did so. It's not like anyone's gonna break in anyway. After what seemed like a few seconds, I heard a noise nearby. I quickly opened my eyes and saw a sideways view of the empty doorway from the office. I took a glance at my watch. 12:30. I groaned, but then realized at least some time passed. I then raised my head as I rubbed my eyes. When I stopped rubbing, I looked right in front of me and nearly fell out of my chair. Standing in the hallway, through the window, was that bunny animatronic, looking me right in the eye. I screamed and just stared at it, half expecting it to do something to me. But instead, it just stared. It had a goofy, all-teeth grin planted on its face, as if to mock me. Well, it's unconfirmed what happened to Mrs. Afton. It's not confirmed what happened to her. So yeah, we don't know if she was stuffed into a suit, if he killed her but didn't stuff her into a suit, or if she just left the picture. Like, it's not confirmed what happened with her. But yeah, 2 of his kids dying to his creation. Yeah, that's definitely some irony right there. I kept telling myself that there was no way that it was there, that it was still in the arcade. I decided to prove it by opening up the camera feed. When I did, I got just as confused. Instead of the feed of the arcade, I got what looked like a blackened out round head wearing a small propeller hat. What the heck? Yeah, again, that's the theory that Ballora and Mrs. Afton are connected, but again, there's no confirmation or proof that Ballora is possessed by her. That's just fan speculation, but I do agree it's safe to assume that Ballora was, at the very least, I believe personally that Ballora was based off of Mrs. Afton's likeness, like William made her to like visually look like her, but I personally don't believe that she's possessed by Mrs. Afton. I personally think that Mrs. Afton just like divorced him / left him or whatever, because again, there's no proof either way. I was definitely getting weirded out. I put the screen back and then saw what looked like a dark figure right in front of me. It was all black and seemed to be in the shape of BB. Before I could look at it for too long, it suddenly opened its mouth and lunged at me. I covered my face and screamed, expecting to die. Instead, I suddenly heard a loud alarm. I opened my eyes and saw a red flashing light throughout the room. I looked at the window and saw neither the bunny nor the BB thing was there. I suddenly found myself coughing a bit. That's when I suddenly remembered what Guy said about the ventilation. I rolled over to the maintenance panel and turned it on. Sure enough, next to the word ventilation was the word error written in red. I tapped on the ventilation button and saw it was resetting. As it was slowly loading, I could feel myself breathing a little better. Finally, I stopped and the red light stopped flashing. I leaned back in the chair, thankful that was over. I then happened to glance at the clock in the office. 5:58 a.m.? I looked at my watch and saw that, sure enough, it was 5:58. But just a second ago, it was 12:30. Unless it was all a dream? Yes, that must be it. I just fell asleep and dreamed that the bunny and BB were there. It's the only explanation. Curious, I looked at the cameras again. I went back to the arcade and got confused. It wasn't where I last saw it. I checked the other arcade cam and saw it wasn't there either. What the hell? I scrolled through all the cameras and stopped when I saw a shadowy figure in the hall outside of the arcade. It was without a doubt the bunny animatronic. Okay, something is definitely up. There's no way I'm imagining anything here. Before I could think of anything else, I heard chiming above me. I looked at the clock and saw it read 6 a.m. It means Chuck will be here any minute. I then looked back at the animatronic. I can't wait to ask the guys what the deal is with this thing. 1 a.m., June 26th, 1973. Warning, strong language and sensitive subjects. Well, after a long-awaited rest, I stood back up with a smile. Alright, I told myself, time for round 2. I grabbed the remote again, which had now been given a new frequency, and pressed the red button. A few seconds later, I heard another stupid voice. Hi there, I'm your bunny buddy Bonnie. I picked up my walkie-talkie and put it to my mouth, still sporting my smile. Well, guess what, Bonnie? I hate your fucking guts. Oh my, I don't like it when you say that. Too bad, shitface. Please stop, or I'm going to have to tell an adult. I am an adult, dipshit. I'm realizing now just how ridiculous the situation is, where he's just basically having a full-blown argument with a robot. Because at this point, in this canon, in this timeline, like at this point, they're not possessed yet. They're not possessed yet. So he's just straight up just arguing with just a normal programmed animatronic. Oh my, I don't like it when you say that. At this point, I heard the robot get closer and closer to me. Fortunately, I was in the room, so I have nothing to worry about. A second later, the stupid rabbit came around the corner, holding that stupid guitar. It made me sick just looking at it. Come and get me, Bon Bon, I said with a taunt. Oh, man. Hi there, honey. Yeah, go get him. Yeah, what do you think, Pepper? Should we go get him? Should we go get him, Pepper? Hi there, I'm your bunny buddy Bonnie. It walked towards me with that creepy face permanently plastered on. But soon. Ready to play, Freddy? Oh, Freddy's not ready, I said innocently. He's feeling under the weather. Ready to play, Chica? Trust me, she'll be here soon enough. Finally, it was right in front of me. Pepper, get... Okay, thank you. I was like, now you're just blocking the screen. Finally, it was right in front of me. But it then stopped, took a step back, and walked towards me again. It then repeated this pattern as my smile grew. I thought rabbits were supposed to be smart, I told the stupid robot. Hi there, I'm your bunny buddy Bonnie. But I guess you're just as stupid as the metal you're made of. Ready to play, Freddy? Pepper, please don't sit in front of the monitor. Pepper. Peppy. You're so silly. Hi there, I'm your bunny buddy Bonnie. I guess you're just as stupid as the metal you're made of. Ready to play, Freddy? Well, I guess it's time to put you out of your misery. Ready to play? Ready to play cheat crack. I used the pipe from earlier to bash the fucking bunny in the head. When it did, it fell backwards, dropping the ugly guitar in the process. Hi there, I'm your bunny buddy Bonnie. Well, guess what, Bonnie? You suck at playing guitar. Oh my, I don't like it when you say that. Without a verbal response, I reached toward the dumbass's left arm and yanked it on it hard. Took a few tries to completely rip the robotic limb off. I smiled as I looked at the wire spark at the now bare socket. After tossing the arm behind me, I looked at that stupid face of his. It still sported that ridiculous grin. Ready to play, Freddy? Shut the hell up! Please stop, or I'm going to have to tell an adult. Hi, baby, where'd your ball go? Oh, there it is. With that, I grabbed his ugly face and yanked on it. I kept yanking it with all my fury till I finally felt myself flying backwards and landing on my back. When I did, I noticed I was holding a purple face in my hand. I smiled as I looked back towards Bonnie, who was now missing an arm and a face. Ready to play, Chica? Without a face, the bastard looked even scarier. Looks like I'm gonna have to finish what I started. I grabbed the pipe and quickly struck him in the head one final time. All at that, gears and other pieces of metal flew out and the robot stopped moving. A few seconds passed and nothing happened. I smiled at the dead bastard. I then turned around and walked back into the room, still holding my precious pipe. This just keeps getting better and better, I told them. More muffled screams. I don't understand what all the screaming was about. Yeah, he really hates them. He really hates them. Not sure why, but yeah, even I don't know why, but he hates them. Now, I continued, who wants to help Bonnie? Suddenly, they all got quiet. Even though their faces were beet red from screaming and wet from crying, they were still quiet. Here you go. What's that, Pepper? What's that? Go get it. Look, I told them all calmly. Either you volunteer to help, or I pick one of you to help. Can't get simpler than that. After all, you don't want to end up like the first boy who didn't do what I said, right? They quickly shook their heads, still sporting scared faces. I smiled at that. So, I'll ask again. Who wants to help Bonnie? There was more silence for a few seconds. Fine, I sighed. I guess I'll have to pick somebody. I looked over them all, deciding which one would be perfect for that stupid bunny. Finally, my eyes rested upon a certain one in a purple shirt. How about you? I asked, pointing at him. His eyes widened and his head shook violently. But you're wearing purple, I argued. That's the perfect color for Bonnie. Screams could be heard throughout the gag on his mouth, muffled the gag on his mouth. Yeah, not Afton particularly, just ultimately yes. Like I said, in retrospect, we can look back at this and know that it's William Afton, like in the game. But when I wrote this, I mean, again, William Afton didn't exist when I wrote this, so I mean, honestly, even as the story progresses, if my memory serves correctly, I don't even think once Afton became a name, I think I ended up making this Michael Afton because I don't even remember why. But again, when we look back at it now, it just doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's supposed to be Purple Guy. If you want to give him his own character, he's just Purple Guy. Screams could be heard muffled through the gag on his mouth, but it wasn't going to help him. I raised the pipe over my head and looked him in the eyes. All of them were screaming now, begging me to stop. Instead of stopping, I just chuckled and looked at them all. You're making this too much fun, I told them. That's when the pipe went down. A new friend. When Chuck and Guy walked into the attraction a minute later, they had some giant grins on their faces. Well, Chuck asked, did you see it? Oh, I saw it, I replied. What is it exactly? An animatronic, dummy, Guy replied. I found it in a boarded up secret room in the 73 location. But which character is it meant to be? I'm not entirely sure. All I know is that it's creepy, it's old, creepy, and authentic. Have you seen it up close yet? Chuck asked me. I wanted to tell him yes, but I'm still not sure if he was really in the window, or if BB was in my room. No, not yet, I replied. Well, let's go then. Following Chuck's lead, Guy and I went through the attraction and made our way to the arcade, where the animatronic was sitting next to the cabinet, just like when I first saw it. It wasn't there when I last saw it, though. It's even creepier up close, Guy commented. I nearly had a heart attack the first time I shone my flashlight on it, man. I wonder why it was in a secret room, I said aloud to nobody in particular. Who cares? Chuck replied. We found it, and it's going to make this place scary beyond comprehension. Even though we don't know its name? Well, I think I have some sort of idea, Guy cut in. There was like some sort of label on its chest when I found it. What did it say? Well, written in red and really large, it said Springtrap. What kind of a name is that? I think it's a creepy name, Chuck replied, which makes it all the better. We're talking to one of the mechanics at the 97 location about possibly rigging this guy up for the attraction, Guy continued. We're gonna try and see if we can get him to follow people around and sneak up on them and stuff. So I wouldn't need to dress like a furry? I asked. Not unless you wanted to, which I don't. Perfect. Then I'll call Cleo and see if she can fix Mr. Springtrap up for us. Okay, so fun story. Fun fact about this. For those of you who are aware about Good Tales, my visual novel stuff, Hazard Square, she did the art for Red War Anniversary and Red War Showtime. We actually met on Wattpad through each other's Five Nights at Freddy's fanfictions, and the main character of her story was named Cleo, who, coincidentally enough, was a mechanic. At the end of the story, she becomes an animatronic mechanic. So this isn't necessarily the same character, but this was 1000% a reference to that. So that's a little fun story. I think she may have actually commented on it now that I think about it. Uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a different account name now, but yeah. Funny is, in the Fricky story, after Cleo escaped, she got a job as a mechanic. Or was that intentional? Maybe, maybe not. So that absolutely was a reference. So yeah, a little fun fact there. I don't believe her stories are up anymore, or I don't think there's anything on her account anymore. But yeah, so yeah, fun fact. Yeah, we met through each other's stories, and yeah, we're still friends to this day. So that's kind of cool. In the meantime, how about we talk to Mike about talking on the phone all the time while he's working? He claims it's a friend of his. Who's going through depression and always needs someone to talk to. What friend? Why have I never seen him? First of all, he claims it's a her. Second, he claims she's in Wisconsin. Well, then he needs to understand that he has a job to do, that he can talk later. Yeah, guy cut in. He could talk to Jackie later. I think he said her name was Jamie, I told him. Whatever, man. Can we go eat something now? I'm craving a Big Mac or two. Even though it's breakfast hours. Even though it's supposed to be breakfast hours. Sure, why not? Chuck said with a shrug. While we do that, we can discuss this whole Mike situation more. They then walked out of the arcade and towards the exit. I stayed for a few more seconds and looked at the animatronic known as Springtrap. Who exactly was he? What was his purpose? Was he an older model of Bonnie? Was he a completely separate character? I'll definitely have to look into this more later. But for now, it's lunchtime, even though it's 6 a.m. It's 6 a.m. and it's lunchtime. I can't even proofread my own sections. Company research. The only employee we could find that worked in the 73 location was on vacation in Mexico, so that wasn't much help. Fortunately, there was someone at the 87 location who may know a bit more about this Springtrap guy. I drove over to the edge of town and parked at the local cafe. I looked across the street and saw an empty lot. A few years ago, it housed a family pizzeria built in 1997, but now there's nothing left but rubble. Although it has been a great supply of relics for Fazbear's Fright. But the lot's not why I'm here. I park the car and get out. I then walk a few blocks down the road away from the empty suit. A minute later, I'm standing between a grocery store and an apartment complex. There was just like a total tense shift right there. I felt like I went from past tense to present tense in the same section. I then walk into an alley and find a small barrel fire and a makeshift tent. In that tent was a sleeping man who looked like he was in his 90s, but was actually 47, or so he claims. Hey, I yelled at him. He snorted and opened his eyes real wide as he looked around. When he saw me, he blinked and smiled. Eric, he said with glee. Fancy seeing you here. Well, you're always here, I replied. True. True enough, he said with a shrug as he sat up. So what can I do for you? Well, we recently found something from the 1973 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that we need help figuring out. What is it? It's an animatronic. His eyes widened. You mean you found an actual animatronic? Of who? Well, that's what we can't figure out. Looks like a bunny, but it's a pale yellow. Well, the only animatronic bunnies I know of are bright blue and dark purple, and missing a face. Right. So you don't know anything about it? Nope. Don't know any yellow bunnies at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Where did you say you found it? Guy and Chuck said they found some sort of boarded up room in the 73 location. Boarded up room, eh? Well, that's quite interesting. I suppose so. Well, so if you don't know anything, I guess I'll be on my way. Wait, hang on, he suddenly gasped. I think I had an epiphany. And that would be... I know it's not the 73 location, but when I was working my 6th night as a security guard, I got a phone call from the assistant manager at the time. So? He said he called you every night when you worked. Actually, Schmidt said that too. Yeah, but in that phone call in particular, he said something about someone stealing a yellow suit. Really? Yeah, he was a bit unclear, but he said something about someone using it to do something. He never really said what it was, though. Well, maybe there's a connection somewhere. Maybe. Sorry I couldn't be more helpful, though. Hey, it's better than nothing, I suppose. You can go back to sleep now. Good. I haven't been sleeping well lately. Maybe it's because you're willingly sleeping in an alley. Hey, I told you it's because... Yeah, your brother. Well, I'll leave you to it. Alright then. See ya, Eric. See ya. Thanks again, Jerry. His smile quickly faded into a frown as he laid back down in his tent. What got into him? Anyway, I left the alley and walked back towards my car. Well, no new leads on Springtrap, but I suppose I'll have to wait until tomorrow to do research. Gotta watch the attraction again tonight. I hope Guy has a good excuse this time. Well, that chapter was pointless. That was a chapter that amounted to absolutely nothing. Yeah, that chapter only existed to be a reference. Third night. I walked back into the office that night, right at the hour of 12. As soon as I did, I opened the camera and tried to find the enigmatic Springtrap. Okay, before I get too far into this, I'm actually gonna get a drink break real quick, because my throat's actually starting to burn a little bit. Alright, I'm back. I do have a cup of water, but I also have some caffeine here because I feel myself getting a little sleepy. Okay. Alright, here we are. I walked back into the office that night, right at the hour of 12. As soon as I did, I opened the camera and tried to find the enigmatic Springtrap. My first thought was the arcade for logical reasons. When I flipped there, though, I couldn't see any sign of it. Cleo must have moved it when she examined it, I thought to myself. Heck, it's probably not even here. It's probably at her workshop. Before I could think much longer about it, my phone rang. I looked and saw it was Guy. No shocker there. I then answered the phone and put it to my ear. Hello? I asked. Hello. I groaned. It was the same guy from the recording yesterday. Guy must have thought it funny to play the tapes every night. For today's lesson, we will be continuing our training on proper suit handling techniques. Well, I suppose I don't have anything better to do than to listen. When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring locks located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak. I'm still amazed that there was a point in time where you could wear the animatronics as suits, especially in the mid-20th century. Try not to nudge or press any of the spring locks inside the suit. Do not touch the spring locks at any time. Do not breathe on the spring locks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose. Whoa, talk about sensitive equipment. In the case of spring locks coming loose while you are wearing the suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out as to not ruin the customer's experience. Wait, what the hell kind of instructions are those? As always, if there is ever an emergency, please go to the designated safe room. Safe room? Why have I never heard anything about a safe room before? Every location is built with one extra room that is not included in the digital map layout in the animatronics or the security cameras. This room is hidden to customers, invisible to animatronics, and is always off camera. Huh. It's as if an ancient recording could read my mind. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I then heard silence that signaled the end of the tape. With that, I hung up and began thinking. The suits back then could be worn by people, yet were dangerous enough to harm you by even breathing? That's messed up. Yeah, that is such a... It's kind of funny to think. Like, just how ahead of his time William Afton was in terms of robotics and animatronics and stuff like that. It's just like, if he used his powers for good, amazing. Imagine what the world could have been like. And the thought of a secret safe room is bugging me. Surely somebody would have spilled the beans about such a room. This was around 50 years ago. Well, either way, I suppose it's not that important. I opened the camera. Same thing happened to Evan. Right. Yeah. Definitely, oh, man. I remember quite the stir that moment caused up with the fandom. There's a reason Markiplier's reaction to it is still a meme, besides the fact of just how... I can't even explain what makes it funny. It's just the mixture of the shock and the way he says it, but yeah, he basically said what we were all thinking at the time. I opened the camera back up and scrolled through the building. I saw an empty Bonnie shell, a Foxy head on the wall, a Chica head sitting on the floor, and a yellow bunny by the entrance. Wait, what? Sure enough, I saw it clearly in Cam 10, right by the entrance of the attraction. It was peeking its head right at the bottom right side of the screen. Well, maybe Cleo meant to take it home tonight and never got around to it. I suppose it would be safer here anyway. This animatronic is our biggest break, and we can't afford to let something happen to it. I then closed the screen and stretched my legs. I'm officially bored. I began thinking of something to do. I'm not really in the mood for Flappy Bird. I suppose I could try something Johnny claimed to do his first night on the job. Or was his name Jerry? Something close to that. I pulled out my phone and opened my Sudoku app. I've always been a fan of puzzles, especially ones involving numbers. Now let's see, I think the 3 goes here next to the 7. After a while, I heard a clinking noise. I looked at the clock and saw it was 1 a.m. Well, at least I got an hour of relaxation. I opened the screen and looked. It was still on Cam 10, but something was missing. I couldn't see any sign of Springtrap anywhere by the entrance. I could swear he was there earlier. I flipped to Cam 9, which was in the other end of the hallway, and I actually jumped a bit. Right along the left-hand side of the screen was a dark silhouette with a glowing white eye. Suddenly, a thought hit me. A thought I should have realized earlier. It was already repaired. Cleo must have fixed it earlier, and Guy and Chuck must have decided it would be funny to test it on me without me knowing. While they can try and scare me all they want, it's not going to work. I then flipped back to Cam 10, mostly out of boredom. Then, just to get used to my future job, I pressed the play audio button. Hello? A creepy voice echoed through the speaker as I played the sound. Suddenly, a few seconds later, I saw a creepy face appear back in the camera. I jumped when it appeared, but I could recognize it to be our new animatronic. First, I found it to be chance, but that's when I remembered the phone call from yesterday. The guy in the recording said the robots were attracted to sound waves. I suppose this confirms that this thing is fixed. This will also be beneficial to us. It'll be guaranteed that Springtrap will follow the people of the attraction. Suddenly, the video went black, and the only thing that could be seen was the video error in the top left corner. Damn old school technology. I closed the camera and was about to roll over to the maintenance panel before I saw something that made me freeze. In the window, in front of me, slowly inching across the hall, was a dark figure. It was big and appeared to be holding a microphone and wearing a top hat. Mark's reaction to Michael decomposing was funny. Haven't seen that one in a while. I haven't seen that reaction for a while, but I can imagine. Well, let's be real. Markiplier's reactions to anything in general, is great. But yeah, his FNAF reactions are absolutely hilarious. Suddenly it ducked down and out of sight. I continued to sit frozen. Did I really just see that? Maybe I ought to reset the ventilation too. I went to the maintenance panel and opened it up. I saw error flashing next to the camera feed. I tapped the screen and waited for it to reset. When it did, I closed the screen and was about to head back to the camera. It was disturbing too. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again just to see. I went to the maintenance panel, but suddenly before I could move, a familiar face came right in front of me. It was a cartoon-looking bear with a top hat and only one ear. Its eyes were glowing white, and its body was pitch black, and it let out a giant scream. It was only there for a second before it disappeared, and I could only see flashing red lights. I was still frozen for a second, but I then went back to the panel and saw my ventilation was offline. I went to reset it and sat still as I got my bearings, as I heard my breathing get softer and softer. Finally, I took a deep breath and realized I was good now. I finally scrolled back to the camera to find Springtrap. Cam 10 was empty, which was not promising. I went to Cam 9 and saw the dark bunny silhouette again. I suppose as long as I don't know where he is, I don't see a problem. Besides, what's he gonna do? Scare me? I kept looking at him from time to time, keeping track of his position. He was going between the two cameras, though, so it wasn't that difficult. The cameras went out a few times, so no difficulties this time resetting them. I kept resetting the ventilation, though, just to be safe. Finally, I heard the clock chime above me. It was 6 a.m. Huh, time went by pretty fast. Anyway, Springtrap was by the entrance where he was at the start of the night. Chuck will be here at any minute. I can't wait to tell him I wasn't scared by his little machine. Yeah, this part here, I was like, yeah, what's he gonna do? Scare me? Because, like, as far as the guard is aware, like, there's no immediate threat. Because, in the first game, you had this, technically both games, you were warned that if they catch you, they'll stuff you into a suit. But, yeah, nothing's like that here. So, yeah. So there's really no reason for the guard to be scared here. "2 a.m., June 26, 1973. Warning, strong language and sensitive subjects. I swear, this just keeps getting better and better. All I have to do now is take out 2 more of the bastards. And it didn't take long to figure out which one I should do next. I took the reconfigured remote and pressed the red button. A few seconds later, I heard mechanical whirring. Let's eat! God, could they have made her voice more damn annoying? I'm Chica the Chicken, and I love to eat and have fun. In disgust, I put my speaker to my mouth and shouted, well, you know what I love? Well, you know what I love? When you shut your fucking whore mouth. I can't say any of these with a straight face. They're just so ridiculous. Because again, the fact that he's saying all these two non-possessed animatronics. Oh my gosh. Like, I know he's just doing it to lure them to him, but it's still just funny. Oh no, you can't say that, friend. Two goddamn bad sluts. I think we need to tell somebody about this. Go ahead and try. I then heard mechanical footsteps slowly inching towards me, but there's no way I'd be in any harm from one of those monstrosities. Right around the corner appeared a thick yellow chicken with thick black eyebrows and giant pink eyes, and wore nothing but a white bib that read, "Let's eat," in colorful letters. It made me sick. Hey, Chica, I told the robot, making sure I was still in the room. I'm Chica the Chicken, and I love to eat and have fun. Well, I don't give a single shit. Oh no, you can't say that, friend. Oh, and what are you gonna do about it, bitch? I think we need to tell somebody about this. Like who? The manager? Ha! By the time I'm done, me saying something like that will be the least of his problems. He then inched towards me until she was finally in front of me. But she couldn't go any further. She just stopped, backed up, walked forward, and kept repeating it. Oh, Chica, it must be nice looking so beautiful. Ready to sing with us? It'd be really shameful if you weren't beautiful anymore, would it? Like father, like son. Fair enough. I wonder how you'd look if you were hideous. Let's eat. Whack! Instead of hitting her with the pipe from above, I swung it from the side like a baseball bat and hit her right in the fucking jaw. She toppled backwards and landed on her back. Her mouth started sparking and spazzing as I tried to move while she talked. I'm Chica the chicken, and I love to eat and have fun. And I love beating the shit out of you. I then swung the pipe at her again, hitting her jaw once more, knocking it really far down her face. I wouldn't be surprised if it was locked there permanently. Ready to sing with us? She then started to sound like some sort of demonic machine. Whack! One more hit seemed to do it. She sat completely still, not moving a robotic limb. I smiled at her broken face. I really hated how fucking perfect she seemed to be. Well, who's perfect now? I then looked back into the room and continued to smile. Well, only 2 of you left, I told them. Who wants to help Chica? Chica will need a straw to eat after that blow. Yeah, no kidding. Again, my only response was muffles and crying. What the hell is their problem? Fine, I suppose I'll have to pick again. I looked them both over. I smiled because it didn't take long to figure out which one would be perfect. You're a girl. Girls love Chica. They all do. She responded by squeezing her watery eyes shut and screaming through her gag. Don't worry, I'll make sure it doesn't hurt too much. I picked the pipe up and both of them were crying waterfalls. I really don't understand. They're helping their best friends. No matter. The pipe was going down. So the more I read this, not garbage water. It's not security breach after all. Yeah, well, some things never change. Yeah, reading through these again, I think the thought process I had at the time was that Purple Guy was demented, basically, where he was just crazy and thought that the animatronics were real. Or maybe he thought they were already alive. I don't know. At this point, I don't really remember what my thought process was here. We're talking 7 years ago. Because this was written in 2015, so yeah, 7 years ago. Man. Oh, this. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Holy crap. Okay, so I just found out someone's ripped off my first Five Nights at Freddy's story word for word. They're calling it Five Nights at Freddy's It's Me. Look it up on Amazon. It's being sold for $5 as a hardback copy paperback. I was skeptical of this being a ripoff until I read the reviews shown here. I'm beyond pissed right now. I beg each and every one of you to find this story on Amazon and prove that this is not their story. It's mine. Comment a link to my story, report them. I don't care. Just do something about this. Yeah, I was legitimately pissed at the time. I mean, I'm still pissed that it happened. What is some of these? Yeah, Christina Wallet shows off her ignorance in this poor attempted fiction. The first paragraph shows what kind of... Come on, Mike, you can't say this guy. Okay, so that wasn't even just a... Okay, well, this guy was just actually just straight up pissing on my story. But yeah. Yeah, the story's not there anymore. Thank goodness. Here's the thing that actually pissed me off. Like, I made a review on it, basically calling out that it was stolen, that I was the one who wrote it. And the review got taken down because I wasn't reviewing the story. So what that tells me is someone on Amazon looked at that review, read it, had to have seen that this story is stolen, was stolen from me, and still decided to take down my review because I wasn't reviewing it. Rather than take down the story, which was giving them money because they were charging for it, they took down my review. Because I broke their terms of service, even though that person broke the law. Yeah, needless to say, I was not happy. But thankfully, the story's not up there anymore. So, don't gotta worry about that. Phone calls galore. I tell you, my day has been crammed, crazy, and confusing. It started when Chuck came into the attraction that morning. He told me the guy found more training cassettes that seemed a bit more interesting than the last ones. Definitely looking forward to that. Is it against the law despite it being favorite? It's plagiarism. It's straight up plagiarism. It doesn't matter what the context is, it's plagiarism, and plagiarism is illegal. So, yes, by all accounts, it was against the law. Something weird happened when I mentioned Springtrap. And on top of the fact, plagiarism aside, that person did not own the rights to Five Nights at Freddy's, but was selling non-official Five Nights at Freddy's stuff without any sort of license or approval from Scott. So that alone should have been enough to get it taken down. So plagiarism on top of selling something that they don't own the rights to. That's 2 counts of 2 reasons that should have been taken down. But something weird happened when I mentioned Springtrap to him. He said he had no knowledge of him being repaired. Of course, it is Chuck we're talking about here. I'm just glad it seems to be working fine, though, he said. It really follows sound? Well, it went into the room I played the BB voice box in, I replied. So either it's attracted to sound or it was a coincidence. Either way, it's sure to scare the shit out of the customers. Can't wait to tell Guy about this. If he was pulling a joke, he's a better actor than I thought. Of course, it really is entirely possible he didn't know Springtrap was fixed. Anyway, I then went home and instantly made myself a hot cup of coffee. As I took a sip, my phone rang in my pocket. I took it out and saw it was the local paper, the Scottsdale Times. Can't put a paywall on fanfiction, especially still. Exactly. Actually, fun fact. The only time I've ever directly interacted with Scott Cawthon himself, I sent an email to him asking if I could sell my FNAF fanfictions. I'm not even kidding. I actually emailed Scott Cawthon himself and asked him that. And he did respond to me by basically saying, no, you can't. You can't. But hey, at least I can officially say I've had a direct interaction with Scott Cawthon. So I wish that wasn't my sole interaction with Scott Cawthon, but here we are. I can't believe I actually asked that. That's just crazy. Oh my goodness. I took it out and saw it was the local paper, the Scottsdale Times. Hello? I asked when I answered. This is Eric Jefferson. Good morning, Mr. Jefferson, the female voice on the other end replied. You were the one in charge of the new horror attraction in the strip mall, correct? Well, that's actually more of my friend Chuck Cameron's responsibility, but yeah, I'm involved. Well, Mr. Cameron suggested I call you to set up an interview with the 3 of you involved in the project. Oh, he did? Well, alright. Let's see. Yeah, at least I asked. At least I had the courtesy to ask, because I knew he was probably going to say no, because common sense, doy, but I still did it anyway. I'm sure I still got that email saved somewhere. I'm sure I can look that up, but yeah, it's just funny that my one interaction with Scott Cawthon, and it was just me being a dum-dum. I glanced at the calendar in my fridge and find a good appointment time. We should all be free this Saturday at 7 p.m., I replied. Does that work for you? Anytime you're available works for me. Perfect. I'll let the guys know. Very well, then. And, Mr. Jefferson? Yes? As unprofessional as this may sound, is it a good idea to make a haunted house based on Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Why do you ask? It's just, I used to work at one of the restaurants, and, well, I've seen some crazy things. Well, with all due respect, ma'am, this attraction won't harm anyone in any way, shape, or form. I know, but never mind. I'm just worrying myself. Anyway, have a nice day, Mr. Jefferson. You too, Miss Roddington. Courtney Roddington. You too, Miss Roddington. 82 comments. Yeah, I wonder why. 82 comments on this one name drop. Yeah, I wonder why. We then hung up and I kept sipping my coffee. A second later, my phone rang again. I looked and saw it was Guy. Hello? Hey, I got great news for you, man. If it's the new cassette tapes, Chuck already told me. Well, but I got something else. What? I found an authentic Freddy Fazbear's Pizza uniform on eBay. The starting price is $15. Well, I can't imagine too many people wanting to buy one, so I think we've got a fair shot. I know, right? And dude, I also found what's supposedly the sign that was in front of the 87 location. What's that selling for? Around $50. I know it's pricey. Hey, the more memorabilia, the better. True that, man. Okay, I'll try and win that too. Alright, let Chuck know about it, alright? Will do. Talk to you later, man. We then hung up and I yawned. I really needed some actual sleep, but that'll have to come later. There's more work to do. Suddenly, my phone rang again. I groaned and looked at it. It was Cleo. I was a bit confused. Why would my mechanic be calling me? Hello? Hey, Eric. I just want to say that I'm sorry that I forgot to tell you something important. Well, don't worry. Don't worry. I already know. It's not a problem at all. Oh, good. I'm glad you're not upset. Why would I be upset? Well, because I still haven't fixed that robot you found. After that, all I could hear was the shattering of my coffee mug as I dropped it. My foot was burning a bit as the drink seeped through my socks, but I wasn't paying too much attention to that. Is everything alright? Yeah, sure. What did you just say? I said I haven't fixed that robot yet. My parents are in town and I haven't had time to work on it. I see. So, you're not mad? Not at all, Cleo. I completely understand. Really? Of course. I know how parents are. Okay, great. But I promise I'll have a look at it before the attraction opens. Good to hear. Well, you take care. You too. When I hung up, I continued to stare into space in deep thought. Did she really just say she hasn't fixed Springtrap? But I saw it move. I swear I did. Maybe I'm just not thinking properly from my lack of sleep. I just need to take a nap or something. But I'm also going to need to take a closer look at this golden animatronic. When you haven't read any of the previous stories and don't know who Courtney is. Yeah, and things like that are why I put X of Y in all the descriptions. Part X of Y. Or story X of Y. I was about to head to Fazbear's Fright for the night when I got one more insane phone call. One that got me deeply worried. It was 11:30 p.m. when I got the call. I've been getting phone calls all day, so of course I got pissed when I got one more. I looked and saw it was Chuck. Great. He probably wants to tell me they got a TV ad or something else I don't care about right now. Hello? I asked in frustration. Eric, we've got a problem. Well, that threw me off guard. What is it? I asked a bit more calmly. I'm trying to get a hold of Guy to see how the progress with the sign has been. And? I've been calling for hours now and he hasn't picked it up. It just goes straight to voicemail. Huh, that's weird. Guy always answers his phone. Why do you think I'm panicking? Alright, just relax. Have you tried visiting his apartment? Of course, but he's not there, and neither is his car. Oh shit. When was the last time you talked to him? This morning, at around 7 o'clock. He had told me about the eBay buys he made. I last talked to him around that time, too. Okay, well, this is definitely bizarre. Have you tried calling the authorities? Not yet. I wanted to see if you knew where he was first. Well, since I don't know either, it would be best if you did that now. Guy would never abandon us like this. Exactly my point. Okay, I'll call now. Good. I'm on my way to attraction to watch over the place. Give me an update tomorrow, okay? Of course, Eric. He then hung up, as did I. I then just stood there in shock. Did Guy really just leave without talking to us about it? That's totally not like him at all. I just hope the police can help us find him. For now, I have a building to guard. Fourth night. As I sat in the chair in my office, I couldn't help but think of Guy and where he could possibly be. It's entirely possible that he's safe and sound, but it worries me that he wouldn't give me or Chuck a warning of where he'd be. Another thing to worry about is Springtrap. I swear on everything I have that it moved yesterday, yet Cleo claims she didn't fix it. Clearly something is contradicting here, but either one doesn't make sense. Before I could think too much harder on it, my cell phone rang. I looked and my eyes lit up. It was Guy. Guy, I said as I answered. Where the hell are you? Hello? Guy, stop playing those damn recordings and talk to me. There's been a slight change of company policy concerning the use of the suits. Don't. I paused. I was worried about Guy, but that last line caught my attention. After learning of an unfortunate incident at a sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suits temporarily unfit for employees. Hold on. You mean those suits actually hurt somebody? Well, I suppose that makes sense. Just breathing could cause it to fail. Safety is our top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technician. Safety is their top priority? Ha! Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so any questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected. Huh, so they got new costumes? I bet they must have looked funny. I repeat, the classic suits are not to be touched, activated, or worn. That being said, we are free of liability, do as you wish. I can't believe it took that long for people to realize something was wrong with the suits. Of course, only an idiot would willingly go inside something like that after hearing the news. Ha, 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 ha. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Okay, guy, now talk to me. Before I could finish, the phone hung up. I quickly pressed redial and waited. Hey, sorry, I can't answer the phone right now. If this is relating to Fazbear's Fright, the insanely awesome horror attraction, please call either Chuck Cameron or Eric Jefferson. If this is a personal call, just hold tight and I'll call you later. Call you back. Later. I groaned as I hung up. What the hell is this man doing? I then heard a clanking noise that nearly gave me a heart attack from inside the building. That's when I realized that there's one more pain I have to deal with. I opened the camera screen to try and find Springtrap. I checked cam 10, only to discover it empty. I then flipped to cam 9. Empty. Well, this is a great start. I then looked at cam 8, the hallway with the Chica and puppet heads, and saw a tall figure with 2 long ears. It was darkened because of the lighting, but it was definitely Springtrap. I'm still confused at how it's moving. I can only hope Cleo was joking about not fixing it. I then closed the screen and rubbed my eyes. I just wish I could make this night go faster. The quicker the night finishes, the quicker I can help look for Guy. I opened the screen back up and saw Springtrap was gone. I quickly checked the adjacent rooms to try and find where he went. It didn't take long to find him in the arcade, right by the machines, staring at me with giant glowing eyes. And then I found myself coughing and feeling a bit lightheaded. In fact, I could barely make out the words ventilation error in the top left corner of the screen. I quickly turned the screen off and rolled towards the maintenance panel, where I immediately pressed the ventilation button. As I took deep breaths as the ventilation cleared, I found myself blinking a lot faster. Once we make profit, I'm definitely going to get a better air system in this place. I scrolled back to the screen and opened it up. I almost had a heart attack when I did. On the arcade machine screen, shone really bright, was some sort of creepy image. It looked like a negative, but it also looked like a familiar chicken duck looking animatronic. But I couldn't see Springtrap anywhere, so I decided to try the audio to test how well it works in distracting him. Hi. A second later, the yellow bunny appeared back on the screen, looking around, seemingly confused. I smiled at the sight. Suddenly, the screen went black. I groaned and closed the screen to reset the camera display. When I turned, though, I screamed in panic. Standing next to me was a tall, yellow, yet seemingly burnt animatronic. Yet it wasn't Springtrap. It had an orange beak and a white bib with words I could barely make out. Let's eat! It screamed in my face in a loud shriek before it disappeared in a flash. After a second, the white flash faded, replacing my sight with flashing red lights. I found myself coughing yet again. Is it me? Am I the only one who keeps forgetting that Nightmare Chica exists? Like, I can't be the only one, right? I legitimately keep forgetting that Nightmare Chica exists. No, not Nightmare. Phantom, my bad. Phantom Chica. I went back to the panel and saw error flashing next to both the camera and ventilation buttons. I quickly pressed reboot all and waited. I coughed and gasped as I sat there waiting for everything to clear up. That's another thing I've been wondering about. Why do these seemingly burnt animatronics keep showing up in the place? I mean, they're obviously not real, but what are they? If I didn't know better, I'd say they were phantoms. Anyway, the systems were reset and I could breathe clearly. I finally went back to the screen and saw Springtrap was still there, which is certainly a relief. I still don't think he'll do much harm to me, but these things admittedly give me the creeps. From there, it was a simple task of using my audio to keep Springtrap in the arcade far away from me. I had to reset my audio a few times, but thankfully didn't have any issues with any of the phantoms. Finally, I heard the clock chiming above me. I then sat back in my chair and rubbed my eyes again. Now that that's over with, I can focus on more important things. A minute later, Chuck came into the building with a nervous expression. Find anything about Guy? I asked him. He shook his head in response. I've tried calling him multiple times, but it went straight to voicemail, he replied.
Well, I got a call from his cell right at midnight, I told him, but it was just one of those recordings he found, but as soon as it was done, it hung up. Did you call back? Of course, but it went to voicemail. What the hell is going on with this man? I'm not sure, but we need to find out soon. No kidding. With that, we both left the attraction, confused and concerned. Hopefully we can get our friend back. 3 a.m., June 26, 1973. It should be obvious what's ahead at this point. Well, it was almost over. I just gotta take care of one more of those little robotic pieces of shit, and it'll be done. I took the remote and pressed the big red button. A second later, I heard a voice from a lot farther away from the others before it. Ahoy, mateys! I be Foxy the Pirate. Welcome to me Pirate Cove. Yaha! God, I'm really gonna enjoy this one. Hey! I screamed at the radio. Come and get me, Foxy the... Come and get me, Foxy the Fucktard. Oh my gosh. Oh, how did I forget about that? How did I forget about that one? Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Oh, that is beautiful. Yar, we may be sailors here at Pirate Cove, but there ain't a reason to be speaking like one. Aw, shut the hell up, you lame excuse of a pirate. Yar, speak like that again, and you'll be walking the plank. Fuck off. I could then hear a rapid movement throughout the building. That robot was always known for being faster than the others, but it didn't matter in my case. Speed wasn't gonna get him out of this one. A second later, the red eye patch wearing asshole came around the corner and looked around. When his mechanical eye laid on me, he paused and stared at me. Ahoy, matey. Care to join me crew for a jolly old adventure? Why the fuck would I help you? Yar, we may be sailors here at Pirate Cove, but there ain't a reason to be speaking like one. God, are all you dumbasses so repetitive? Yar, speak like that again, and you'll be walking the plank. You know, in the room or not, I was gonna get this son of a bitch. I grabbed the pipe, ran towards him, and smacked him right in the face. He fell back and sparks flew out of his mouth as he spoke. Should've. Wait, was there a spelling error that I missed? Oh, I don't know. Ahoy, mateys. I be Foxy the Pirate. Welcome to me Pirate Cove. I whacked him in the face again with all my rage. Do ye dare to enter the unknown of the sea? Whack! Prepare to travel far and wide for riches. Whack! That did it. He stopped talking and moving. He sat there. Now just saying what else you could have added in there. Just like the others. I smiled and spat at his metallic corpse. I hate pirates. Yo-ho. Oh my gosh, how did I forget about that line? Holy crap. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of fuck you. How did I forget about that line? That was like one of the best lines I've written in anything ever. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of fuck you. I'm not laughing, XD. Yes, that's my new line now. During his beating, I didn't laugh, but this killed me because I laughed too hard. That line killed me. I adore Foxy, but I love that line. Yo-ho-ho, motherfucker. So I'm reading this in a Girl Scout trip, and I started singing out loud, and the other girls looked at me. Oops. I kind of laughed at that. This would be awesome on a shirt. That would be funny. That would be funny to make merch out of that. Yo ho ho, a pirate's life for... No. No. It's rum, but we all think differently. LOL, emoji. I'll take it to go. I hate to admit I laughed at this. Was that really necessary? Yes, it was. Foxy the Foxy Fox. Oh my goodness. I walked back into the room and looked at the only one left with a smile. I'd asked for volunteers, I explained, but seeing as how it's just you.
He shook and screamed with all he could. I just sighed and crouched down. Look at me. He just continued to squirm and scream. That's when I smacked him in the face with all my might. Look at me! He stopped screaming as he slowly turned towards me with his wet face. I could see a red handprint on his cheek from where I slapped him. There's no need to be upset, I continued. You're helping a fallen pirate. You should be lucky. You should be happy. He squeezed his eyes shut and began shaking. I sat up, picked up the pipe, and held it over my head. Well, matey, have fun in Davy Jones's locker. And the pipe went down for the last time. I totally forgot just how iconic that whole section was. Oh, Fucksy the Fucktard and Yo Ho Ho and a bottle of fuck you. How did I forget about both those lines? That's hilarious. I sat in the seat and thanked the guard. Oh yeah, visiting hour. I sat in the seat and thanked the guard. I then looked at the man in front of me. The only thing separating us was a pane of glass and a telephone. He had a short head of snow-white hair, large lensed glasses, and an equally wide, long beard. His face was blank, as if he didn't want to see me, which is entirely plausible. If it was William doing all that, he would have expected them to repeat that. Yeah, but again, the context from when this was written is that he was just a crazy employee. So he picked up his phone and I picked up mine. Who are you? He asked me while making eye contact with me in a creepy fashion. My name is Eric Jefferson, I replied. My friends and I have been building a horror attraction based on the Freddy Fazbear's pizza chain. Is that so? And why on earth would you be doing such a thing? Well, we all met at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Actually, it was in 1997 to be exact. That certainly piqued his interest, and one of his eyebrows rose. I see. So why would you be visiting me? Well, shouldn't it be obvious? I did my research and discovered you were arrested on June 26, 1997, for the disappearances, possibly the deaths, of 5 children that went missing that year. So I'm curious as to why you did it. Who says I did it? Well, you were arrested after video evidence showed you entering the back room with the children. So, nobody has a video of me committing any murders. Look, you know the franchise on a personal level, so I was wondering if you could clarify a few things for me. Fine, I guess I got nothing to lose. So I did a bit more research, Mr. Morado, and I discovered that you were actually the manager of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in 1987, where a man supposedly was severely hospitalized after one of your animatronics bit his head. Yes, for those of you who aren't aware, Morado is Spanish for purple. Keyword, supposedly. Well, we happen to know better. We've seen this bite victim for ourselves. He just stared at me with an angry expression. He then muttered something under his breath. As he looked down, I think I could hear him say Fitzgerald, whoever that is. Alright, he finally replied. But what does that have to do with anything? Well, I then discovered you also worked at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location in 1973 as a waiter. Again, what does that year the place closed because 5 children went missing? He stared at me again. He didn't look too happy. You would have been around your mid-30s at that time, I continued, so it's not like you were too young to remember that. You aren't answering the question of what this has to do with anything. Actually, I think I am. In 1973, you worked at an establishment where 5 children went missing on June 26th. Then, 24 years later, to the day, you were arrested for the case of 5 more missing children. So what, you think I was responsible for the disappearances in 1973? I'm not saying that, but I know you know something. He shrugged. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. What's it to you? Well, we're basing the horror attraction on the rumors, so we need as much info as possible. He just stared at me again. We were both silent for a while, waiting for one of us to speak. I will say this, he finally told me. I didn't do anything to any children in 1973. I give you my word on that. But do you know anything about who did it? I do. Who was it? He then chuckled. I ain't spilling the beans on his name. Not that it matters. I don't care about the name. I just want to know what his role was. Was he a waiter too? A mechanic? A guard? Huh. He was a bit of everything. One of the greatest employees in company history. Oh, really? It's not a job that man couldn't do, although he did prefer working as a performer. You mean like being with children? You got it. Jesus, he must be a sicko. That he was. I noticed you keep referring to him in the past tense. Why is that? Eric. Eric, buddy. What other reason is there? What other reason is there to be referring to someone in the past tense, Eric?
And I thought Mike was stupid. I thought Mike was stupid. But Eric is proving he is stupider.
He is stupider.
Why do you think? Oh, so he's, yep, burning in a deep level of hell. I wonder. The ultimate custom night intensifies, Cassidy intensifies. Man, close enough. I was expecting to see that line. The darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. I was hoping to see that, but close enough. Ultimate custom night, Cassidy. Yeah, close enough. How did he die? Well, now that's a company secret. Come on, what's the harm of telling me? Only the fact that all employees were sworn to never telling a soul. Ever. What could possibly require that much secrecy? Well, only the few remaining workers at the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza at the time will ever know. You're really not going to tell me? Even if I wasn't sworn to secrecy, I don't see a point in informing you what happened. Fine. I suppose that's fair. Now, I suppose if there's no other business. So from what I've gathered, the one responsible for the missing children in 1973 was an employee who did a little bit of everything, yet preferred being with the kids. And on top of that, he died in a way that caused the entire company to be sworn to secrecy about what happened. Pretty much. I see. Thank you for your time, Mr. Morado. It's my pleasure, Mr. Jefferson. I don't have the best memory in the world, but that visit with Vincent Morado stuck with me, even though it was over a month ago. I still to this day don't know where the name Vincent came from. Does anyone understand why Vincent was the name chosen to describe the purple guy? Does anyone know why? To this day, I have no idea where that name came from. But yes, I went with this name. His name is Vincent Morado, so his Vincent Purple, like purple guy. He's a purple guy because this. I basically had no choice but to follow the two purple guys theory for this game in order for my timeline to make sense. Now as I sit here, thinking about that conversation, I wonder just how relevant it could be to our current situation. Guy missing, phantom animatronics. I'm not sure how it's connected. I'm not even sure that it is. Maybe I'm just getting paranoid. All I know is it's been 24 hours and not a word from Guy. I really hope we find him. Fifth night. This week has been crazy beyond belief. First, we found the new animatronic. Then I started seeing phantoms. And now Guy is missing. There are so many questions left unanswered. But hopefully I can find the answers soon. I sat in the office that night at midnight as usual. I thought about Guy and where he could possibly be. We've already contacted the police, and they claim to be searching for him. I just hope he's okay. Just out of curiosity, I opened the security cameras to look for Springtrap. It didn't take long for me to find him in Cam 8, standing right in front of the Chica head/light. I swore to myself that at 6 a.m. I'm going to personally observe this thing to its fullest extent. Suddenly, my phone rang. I looked and saw it was Guy. He was hoping he'll respond to me. Okay, Guy, where the hell are you? Chuck and I have been worried sick. Hello. This is just a reminder about company policy concerning the safe room. It's another damn recording again. Why is Guy calling me and playing those cassettes? The safe room is reserved for equipment and or other property not being currently used and is in fact a safety location for employees only. Well, I suppose that sheds a bit of light on this mystery room, but it doesn't explain what's going on with Guy. This is not a break room and should not be considered a place for employees to hide and or congregate, and under no circumstances should a customer ever be taken to this room and out of the main show area. Okay, so we found out nobody's allowed in the safe room. Who cares? Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved. Wait, did he just say Spring Bonnie? We would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstances. An unsafe Spring Bonnie suit? No. Could it be? Thank you, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Guy, talk to me! It was too late. He hung up. I pressed redial almost immediately. Hey, sorry I can't answer the phone right now. I then hung up and groaned. I would love to find out what's going on with him, but that's not my biggest focus as of now. I gotta take a good look at this Springtrap animatronic. Or should I call it Spring Bonnie? I opened the camera back up and saw the Springtrap wasn't in Cam 8 anymore. I then pressed play audio to bring it back. Hello? A second later, the bunny came back into view, looking around the room. I laughed as I stared at its confusion. I began wondering about this thing more than ever. If this is really the Spring Bonnie that the guy in the tapes was talking about, then it would explain its origins, but it mentioned something about it not being safe to wear. Springtrap then walked down the hallway and towards Cam 9. I opened the camera and saw him enter the hallway by the entrance, looking at everything. The fact that it can look around like that gives me the creeps. Suddenly, the video feed went out. Figures. I closed the screen and went to reset the camera system. While I waited for it to reset, I thought about what the guy said about the safe room. He made it sound like that someone used that room to blow off work or something like that, which is understandable, but why is he making the safe room sound so secretive? In any case, the system restarted and I scrolled back over to the screen. As I did, I thought I could hear soft clanking echo through the building. I reopened the vent and saw Springtrap wasn't in Cam 9, like I had last seen him. I was about to check the adjacent rooms, but then a thought hit me. I changed to the vent cams and instantly saw the yellow bunny slowly inching its way down the ventilation system. I quickly double-tapped the camera screen button and saw a message displaying ceiling across the screen. Finally, it stopped, and I saw the small green horizontal line representing the seal turn red. It would appear as I closed it in time, just in time, too. Springtrap quickly stopped and looked confused yet again. I smiled as I watched his robotic face. I then instantly became embarrassed when I realized I was laughing at the misery of an object that wasn't even alive. Oh, Eric. Suddenly, the ventilation went offline again. I quickly shut the screen to turn over the maintenance panel. When I did, though, I nearly fell out of my seat. But the same scream as the other Phantom animatronics, what seemed to be a burnt red broken fox appeared out of the blue and lunged at me with only one arm in front of it. I put my hands up to protect myself, but I was only greeted by the sound of red lights and an alarm. After lowering my hands and seeing the fox was gone, I went to the panel and quickly reset the ventilation. I could feel sweat building up on my forehead as I coughed loudly. I'm not sure how much longer I can take this poor ventilation system. When it finally reset, I took a deep breath and scrolled to the security screen. I then opened the cam and instantly saw the vent was empty. Shocker. I flipped back to the main camera system and saw Springtrap wasn't in Cam 9 either. Hello? When I pressed the button again, I got an audio error message. Despite this, I waited for a few seconds. No sign of him. I then began panicking. Where was he? I flipped to Cam 8 and didn't see him there. Damn it. I then went to Cam 7. Nothing. I then sighed and went to the panel to reset the audio. I felt a bit worried that I couldn't find Springtrap anywhere. But I then realized that it may be for nothing, because again, what's the worst he can do? Though I'd prefer him to stay away from me. When the audio reset, I went back to the screen and immediately went on the hunt for Springtrap. After a quick search, I found him in the arcade, staring at me with his glowing white eyes. God, it's like he's staring into my soul. For the next few hours, it was a simple task of keeping a close eye on the bunny, using my audio to keep him away from me. I had to keep resetting everything, but it was quick and easy with no problems from phantoms. Finally, at 5:55, I managed to get Springtrap in the arcade again. I smiled as I looked up at the clock and realized I had 5 minutes before I was out of this hellhole. Then Chuck could come in and help me investigate this contraption. I looked back at the screen and saw Springtrap was gone. I also heard metal clanking echo. I checked the vent cams and saw that, sure enough, he was inching through the vents, but this time at a faster pace. I quickly double-tapped the button and waited for it to seal up. The Springtrap was out of view by the time the ceiling message disappeared. Hopefully he was stopped. I looked at the map and saw that the particular vent he was going down would lead to the corner right outside my office door. Man, I hope he doesn't get close to me. I closed the screen and felt my heart beating rapidly. This can't be happening now. I have 3 minutes left until I'm done. My heart dropped even more when I heard metal thumping get really loud, as if... I slowly looked at the doorway and saw a yellow robot face peeking through the left side of the frame, staring at me with a frozen smile. I, however, did not return the expression. I did nothing but stare at the Springtrap for the next, seems like forever. I didn't move a muscle. I just looked at its face. Now that it was closer to me, I could see a lot of ripped up patches all across it. I guess age does that to you. Finally, the clock rang from above. I finally smiled and when I heard that noise. Now, any second now, Chuck will walk in through the door and see the robot. I then sat in the chair and waited for Chuck. And waited. And waited. And waited. My smile slowly went away. What the hell is going on? Why hasn't Chuck walked in yet? Springtrap still stared at me with his smile. It was slowly becoming more disturbing. Finally, I sighed and got up from my chair. Chuck or no Chuck, I gotta look at this thing up close once and for all. Four a.m., June 26th, 1973. Warming. Warning, the most gruesome part of the entire story is up ahead. It was finally over. I smiled as I looked ahead of me and saw my work. On the ground lay all four of the broken animatronic assholes. The rabbit was missing a face and arm. The chicken had a busted jaw. The bear had ripped fur. The fox had a shattered jaw and ripped fur. And the one thing they had in common? They all had splashes of red all over them. I smiled and took out my trusty lighter. So much as kids love this building, I don't. I reached down and grabbed a jug of gasoline and walked towards the damn machines. Bye-bye, kiddies, I told them with a smile. I then raised the jug and prepared to start pouring it all over the robots. And then the whole restaurant. But that's when I heard the clinking sound. I looked behind me and saw the safe room was completely empty. Yet I could see the pipe I had been using all night lying on the ground. The fuck? I swore I left it leaning against the wall. I lowered the jug and put the lighter in my pocket as I walked into the safe room. I stared at the pipe, and then the wall, as if that would answer the damn question of what happened. I groaned and picked up the pipe to lean it back against the wall. When I did, I turned around to head back to the robots. That's when I saw him. He had short golden hair and freckles. He stared at me with the blankest expression I'd ever seen. The hell? I murmured to myself. You're dead. I know you are. To convince myself, I looked behind me to see a curled up body in the corner of the room, right next to the one of the spare game cabinets. He had the exact same color hair, only this one was a bit darker red in some spots. I turned back around and saw the boy was still there, staring at me. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I ran past him and toward the doorway. When I got close, though, more children appeared. Not just any children, though. These ones were especially familiar. The one with blue eyes, the one in the purple shirt, the girl who loved Chica, the one with a red shirt. They all appeared in front of the doorway, appearing to block my only way out. I turned back and saw the blonde boy inching towards me. Stay back! I screamed as I ran past him. I then ran towards the game cabinets and saw he was still after me. When he was too close to me, I ran back towards the doorway, but the four of them still blocked the path. Get the hell away from me! I ran back towards the cabinets. That boy was still following me. I looked around for any way to get away from these things. That's when I saw it. The empty slumped over robot rabbit suit. It was put out of commission for whatever fucking reason, but I didn't care. Maybe I could fool the bastards into thinking I'm one of the animatronics. I sprinted towards the suit and immediately picked it up to find the entrance to the damn thing. I finally found it in the back, and I quickly slid my legs, and then arms, and head, then torso into the suit. I then stood up tall and looked down through the tiny eye sockets. I could see the blonde staring at me with that stupid blank face still plastered onto it. But it had stopped moving towards me. I smiled inside the suit. I then found myself giving a small laugh at the success of my brilliant plan. Then it got louder and louder until I was in full cackle. I couldn't believe the dumbass fell for it. I then kept hearing my laugh echo through the room. Next thing I heard, though, was a loud snap that made me stop laughing and gasped. It wasn't because the noise startled me. It was because I instantly felt sharp pain all through my body. I heard another snap that made me scream in pain. I couldn't feel my legs or arms anymore. It's like they just disappeared from my damn body. I kept screaming with all my energy as the pain got worse and worse. I then heard my screams get more and more muffled as I could feel my throat get hot as hell. I then realized it was because it was filling up with blood. I began coughing harder than I ever coughed in my life. I could barely feel myself falling as my legs gave out. I kept coughing as I sat on my ass and leaned my back against the wall. All the while, there was still pain everywhere. My screams were still gurgles as I continued to cough. As I kept coughing, I could see a red puddle form around me. I slowly looked down and saw it was blood. My blood. I coughed more and more. I coughed more and saw more blood fly out of my mouth. Not as drops, but as what seemed like a river. I then found myself gasping for breath as I heard yet another snap. I couldn't move after that. I could just sit there. Only thing I could feel was my mouth getting saltier as blood continued to flow out. I could only stare ahead of me, at the damn blonde boy with the blank face. It took a few short breaths before my vision got blurry. Yet I could still see that boy. It almost looked like a smile was growing on his face. Finally, I exhaled one more time before everything else went black. No more feeling on my body. No more tasting blood. No more kids. Whew. Yeah, he went into the spring Bonnie suit. And paid the ultimate price. I slowly inched towards the robot in my doorway. Oh yeah, seeing the spring trap. I slowly inched towards the robot in my doorway. He was still staring at me with glowing eyes and a creepy smile. As disturbing as he was, I need to find out what is going on with this thing. I was finally a foot away from him. His face was really close to mine. When we got close enough, I found myself coughing. But it wasn't from the ventilation, it was from the smell. Can't believe I didn't realize it before, but this smooth suit smelled horrendous. Granted, it's been locked away for decades, but still, it's like something died in it. Which honestly wouldn't surprise me if this suit is what I think it is. I continued to observe the robot from a short distance. I could see red stains all over the chest area, as well as the arms and legs. It almost looked like blood. I slowly backed away from the machine. It was still frozen in place, with its eyes still locked into mine. I think I finally have an understanding to everything. I gotta call Chuck about this. Pulled out my phone and dialed Chuck's number, all the while keeping my eyes on Springtrap. The phone rang a few times before I got a response. Hi, this is Chuck Cameron of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. I currently cannot answer the phone right now, but you can call either of my colleagues, Eric Jefferson and Guy Coffin, for any information on the attraction. If this is a personal call, just leave a message and I'll call you back ASAP. Thank you. Yeah, because I'm subtle like that. I hung up slowly, not breaking eye contact with the bunny. What could Chuck possibly be doing right now? And why hasn't he told me? Then my heart dropped. I realized this is exactly what happened to Guy. Disappearing out of blue, not answering calls. The fuck is happening? Suddenly, Springtrap quickly bolted towards the attraction and into the air vent, disappearing from view. As much as I should probably see what it's doing, I'd honestly just want to get out of here. I bolted out of the office and ran the opposite way, towards the exit. I pulled the door open, opened it up, left, and locked it up again. I then pulled out my phone and tried calling Chuck again. Hi, this is Chuck Cameron of Fazbear's Fright, the horror attraction. I hung up and felt myself slide down the door. If this is a prank between him and Guy, it's not funny. I'm seriously worried sick. I then sighed and stood up. I really need to look into this whole thing even more. Oh boy. The interview. Good evening, Mr. Jefferson, Miss Roddington told me with a smile as I sat down. Good evening, I replied with a grin that I tried to make look happy. It's unfortunate the other two had to cancel at the last minute. It is. There were complications in their schedules, but don't worry, I know them well enough to know what they would say. That's wonderful to hear. So, how does this work exactly? Oh, it's nothing too complicated or nerve-wracking. It's just me asking you questions about your attraction and all that good stuff. I will, of course, be recording it so I don't misinterpret anything. It shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Alright then. The reporter in her early 50s then pulled out a mini voice recorder and placed it on the table in front of us. Okay then, Mr. Jefferson, let's start with this. Why did you and your friends, Chuck Cameron and Guy Coffin, decide to create a horror attraction based on the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza chain? Well, it's actually pretty interesting. We all met at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in 1997, specifically June 20th, my 6th birthday. After keeping in touch ever since, we discovered that that restaurant in particular was closed the same year for sanitation violations, but there were rumors that there were darker reasons. So we put our minds and skills together to find out what those reasons could be, and eventually came up with Fazbear's Fright. Minds and skills. What skills would that be? Well, Chuck has always been outgoing and a real people person, so he was perfect for finding old employees and getting information. Guy loves antiques of any kind, so he was able to find good deals on old merchandise from the old locations. And me, well, I'm good at being a horror guinea pig. I test the attraction every now and then to make sure it delivers the best fright it can. I see. So you claim you came up with some of the reasons for why the restaurant closed. Care to share what those reasons are? Well, I don't want to reveal too much, but we believe there's been some incidents of missing children throughout the company's history, as well as one incident of a customer getting injured from one of the animatronic characters. That last part almost seemed to make her smoky red hair stand on edge as she took a deep breath. All right then, she finally replied. So please tell me what we can expect from this attraction. Well, it's rather dark and ominous, save for a few lamps made from some old animatronic body shells. There are old sounds from voice boxes constantly playing as well. We also recently found some old audio training cassettes that we can plan to play near the office of the complex. But what about the scares? Surely a horror attraction must have actual scares. Well, I don't want to reveal our biggest secret completely, but we recently found something that is surely to make our audience scream in terror. It's old, never before seen, and frightening as hell itself. Interesting. Alright then, Mr. Jefferson, tell us, where can we find Fazbear's Fright and when is it open? You can find Fazbear's Fright in the center of the Scottsdale Strip Mall in downtown Scottsdale. It opens this Monday, June 26th at 12 a.m. Sounds intriguing. Thank you, Eric Jefferson. No problem at all, Courtney Roddington. She then leaned over and turned the recorder off. See? She asked. Nothing to worry about. I suppose not, I replied with a more confident smile. Thank you for having me. Oh, it's my pleasure, she replied as we shook hands. Good luck on your attraction, and tell your friends I wish them luck as well. Will do. I then grabbed my coat and left the newspaper building. Well, it was a quick and easy interview, but I'm still not entirely relieved. Chuck and Guy are still not here, and the attraction officially opens in less than 29 hours. On top of that, I still have to watch the place again. That means 6 more hours of being in the same building as Springtrap. I really hope everything runs smoothly for me, and I really hope I find my friends. Something I'm just not wondering, why does he keep going back there? Realistically, what... I get someone needs to watch the place to make sure everything's okay, but at this point in time, you don't gotta keep going back, dude. You don't gotta keep going back. Sixth night. I walked into the attraction right at midnight. Place opens to the public in exactly 24 hours. I have until that time to find Chuck and Guy and get everything sorted out. Here's hoping. I instantly opened the screen and looked for Springtrap. I found him on cam 10, hiding off in the corner. I could already tell it was going to be a nightmare to survive tonight. My phone rang right on cue. Hold on. I was going to say, isn't the 6th night called Nightmare Mode? Yeah, I was going to say. Okay, yeah. As soon as I said that, I'm like, wait a minute. Clever. My phone rang right on cue. Sure enough, it was Guy's phone calling. I answered and hoped for the best. Hello. The man in the recordings again. Figures. This is just to inform all employees that due to budget restrictions, the previously mentioned safe rooms are being sealed at most locations, including this one. Sealed? Why would budget restrictions cause a safe room to be sealed? Work crews will be here most of the day today constructing a false wall over the old door base. Nothing is being taken out beforehand, so if you've left anything inside, then it's your own fault. Wow, they didn't hesitate to get them sealed. Management also requested this room not be mentioned to family, friends, or insurance representatives. That's when my jaw dropped as I remembered my conversation with Murado. Could that safe room have something to do with what happened to the old employee in 1973? Thanks again, and remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Before I could say anything else, the phone hung up. I would try redialing, but I don't see a purpose at this point. I looked back at the screen and saw Springtrap was nowhere to be found in Cam 10. Hello? After playing the audio, the bunny came back into view, looking around. As long as I keep him as far from me as possible, I think I'll be fine. Suddenly, the screen went black again. I quickly closed it and then rolled over to the panel. Once I opened it, I pressed camera system and waited for it to reset. I couldn't afford to stay here for too long. The longer I'm here, the better chance the spring trap can move closer to me. Finally, it reset and I went back to the screen, where sure enough, there weren't any signs of spring trap. Hi! The audio then went offline, but I still waited. Nothing. Suddenly, I heard soft metal thumping on my left. I opened the vent cams and checked the farthest left vent. Not surprisingly, I saw my yellow robot friend crawling very slowly through the shaft. Without a second thought, I double tapped the button and waited for it to seal. When it finally did, the spring trap stopped and stayed in place as I tried to figure out what to do next. While it did, I closed my screen and turned towards the panel, trying to reset my audio. As long as it's as simple as this, I think I'll be fine. The audio then reset and I went back to the screen. He was no longer in the vent, which is sort of expected. After switching back to the main camera, I was greeted by a familiar silhouette of a boy in a small propeller hat blocking the screen. Before I could do anything to react, the screen closed again and I saw a phantom BB standing in front of me. He then screamed and lunged towards me. Even though I knew it wasn't real, I still screamed in fear. Next thing I knew, the BB was gone and the red lights flashed throughout the room. I quickly scrolled back to the panel, trying to take as little breaths as possible. As I reset the ventilation, I kept thinking about these phantoms and why they keep showing up. Is it really just the ventilation, or is it something more? Anyway, the system reset and I could breathe normally. Now, back to finding Springtrap. I looked at the screen and scrolled through the cams, trying to find him. I looked everywhere from the arcade to the entrance to the vents. Nothing. To say I was scared is an understatement. That's when I looked in the cam, where there's supposed to be a foxy head on the wall. Instead of seeing that, though, I saw that the whole room was dark, and the only light I could see revealed what looked like a giant wad of wires and metals all mangled together. Thought I could see a white face with empty eye sockets. Suddenly, a loud static noise blared through my ears. I could see audio error on the screen as the static continued to screech. I closed the screen and hurried to the panel. Right when I got there, though, I glanced out the window and saw something right along the bottom of it. It almost looked like a white fox. At any rate, the noise was still blasting in my ear, so I quickly opened the panel and restarted the audio. I really hope I don't wind up deaf from all this noise. Finally, the audio reset and the noise stopped. I looked back towards the window and saw the white fox head go down. I was curious about that thing. Was it really a phantom? If it wasn't, then what was actually... If it wasn't, that was actually quite worse. No matter, I really need to find Springtrap. I went to the camera and looked through the cams. I still wasn't seeing any sign of him. This is really not good. Hi. Oh, hello. I played the audio in cam 7, hoping it would work. Suddenly, I saw a dark outline appear on the doorframe. I sighed with relief. I finally knew where he was. But as luck would have it, my screen went black. I groaned and went back to the panel. Why must I continue to have difficulty with this maintenance panel? As I waited for it to reset, I thought I could make a familiar silhouette of a bear walking across the window again. I stayed focused on the panel. I didn't want to worry about any more phantoms. When it finally reset, I quickly closed the panel and rolled back to the screen, ignoring the Phantom Freddy in the process. I looked back at the screen and saw the Springtrap had escaped my sight yet again. I looked in the adjacent rooms, seeing where I could find him. That's when I checked Cam 8 and my eyes widened. In the end of the hallway, standing tall and menacingly, was a figure with a white face and tall, skinny limbs. He also sported a spooky smile and scary eye socket. I forgot that the Phantom Marionette was a thing, too. Yeah, I totally forgot that the Phantom Marionette was a thing, too. Just then, another ringing sound played in my ears, but it sounded less like static this time. My vision also went black for a moment. The worst part is I suddenly felt paralyzed. The lights then went back on. I saw a version of the figure I had just seen in the hallway, only he was now in front of my face. His eyes appeared to be glowing the same familiar glow as he stared at me. All the while, the ringing continued, and I remained still. Excuse me. Maybe it was fear, or maybe something paranormal. Either way, I was stuck. Finally, after what seemed like forever, the phantom disappeared, and I felt myself sweating heavily. The ringing gradually got quieter as I looked around in confusion. What the fuck was that about? That's when I remembered Springtrap. I went back to the screens to try and look for him. I definitely gotta be careful which cameras I look at, though. That's when I saw him in Cam 2, which would put him in the hallway to the right of my office. He's close, but that's as close as he needs to be before it gets really risky. I continued to stare at the yellow robot with extreme focus. Any more distractions would cause me to certain doom for sure. I continued to stare at him through the screen, waiting for his next move. Suddenly, my ventilation went offline. You know what, though? I don't care. I'm just gonna sit here and watch this damn thing no matter what. Oh, Eric, you really are stupid. I continued to stare at him. He was just sitting there, almost as if he could see me through the camera. I then found myself coughing a bit, but I needed to watch him. My vision then went a bit black. I found myself blinking really fast. I kept on coughing. I don't remember much after that. All I know is Springtrap was still on the screen staring at me. Then my vision went black. I opened my eyes back up and looked around. Everything seemed normal. I looked at the clock. 5:30 a.m. How long had I been out? That's when my heart started beating rapidly. Where was Springtrap? I went back to the cameras and looked around rapidly. No sign of him anywhere. Shit. I then put the screen away. When I did, I heard a loud scream as a figure appeared in front of me. But it wasn't a phantom. No, it was a yellow, decomposed rabbit that I had been watching all week. Next thing I knew, it tackled me, causing me to fall backwards out of my chair. Lying on my back, I looked at Springtrap in horror as I felt a tight grip on my shoulders. His smelly face was right up to mine, and he still sported that stupid grin. That's when I heard it say something. Something I never heard it say before. It was slight, and I mean very slight whisper, but it said, "It's me." My eyes widened. What was that supposed to mean? I then used all my strength to push Springtrap off of me. He flew backwards and onto the desk. That's when I got up and ran towards the office door, sprinting with all my stamina. I left the office and turned left, taking me to the exit. I then pushed the door. Nothing. I pushed again. It didn't open. Well, I guess if I'm gonna get out of here, I'm gonna have to take the long way. Let's hope I can do it in one piece. Oh, poor Eric. 5 a.m., June 26, 1973. Warning, no violence, though you may experience heavy feels. I looked at him. The other four did too. He hasn't moved in what felt like an hour. All I could see of him were 2 eyes in the socket. The rest was covered by the yellow Bonnie, who looked nice and peaceful before the man who hurt us went inside of him. Now he's covered in red splotches that made him look ugly. Now what? I heard the girl with the big blue eyes ask very quietly. Can we go home now? The boy in the purple shirt asked. How would I know? I replied. I just want to see my mommy and daddy again, the other girl cried with tears rolling down her face. Me too, the red-shirted boy agreed. I'm sure we'll see them again, I told them both confidently. Let's just wait for one of the adults to come and help us. You can't. Was that a line? I feel like that was a reference. You can't. We all turned towards the doorway and saw a tall person with really skinny arms and legs. He also had a skinny body too, but what really got our attention was the white face with a big smile and purple stripes under his scary eyes. Run! The blue-eyed girl screamed to the rest of us. No, please, don't leave me alone. We all then stopped. The figure slowly bent down and started shaking. Please, I don't want to be alone anymore. It almost sounded like a kid, a little boy a few years younger than me. Okay, this chapter is the ultimate example of we didn't know at the time, because now, like, one of the very few things we know for 100% certainty is the puppet's origins. Who the puppet is, how they came to be. Not what's written here. Not what is written here. Like, everything is, like, completely wrong. Except the fact that it's a kid. That's, like, the only thing I got right. Well, you get the idea. Like, I couldn't even get the gender right. I couldn't even get the gender right. I had a 50% chance and I was wrong. We continued to stare at it, but in amazement instead of fear. was nothing like I'd ever seen before. What's your name? I asked it. It just sat there in silence for a few seconds before slowly looking down. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been called by a name. I'm trying to remember if I did that on purpose. I'm trying to remember if I made that reference on purpose. I feel like I had to have. It's been so long. Yeah. I feel like that had to have been a reference. What are you? The purple-shirted boy asked. I'm a kid, like you guys. I just don't look like it. Clearly, the blue-eyed girl scoffed. The other girl hit her on the head as she gave a mean look. All I know, it continued, is that my mama was being hurt by my daddy, so I ran outside and towards the safest place I could think of, my friend Fredbear's house. Fredbear? I asked in confusion. Don't you mean Freddy Fazbear? I don't know, maybe. Anyway, the man inside said he'd let me inside and see Fredbear in a minute. It's not a bad origin story, it's just not how it happened in the games. So my mind is just having a disconnect right there. Because that is basically what happened. That the kid was not allowed in, but different context, different reason. But the next thing I knew, I hurt in my side, and then I could see myself lying down like I was sleeping, but I was all red. You mean like us? I asked. I guess so. I also saw a purple man run away from my sleeping body and into a car. I don't remember much after that, but I do know I got mad. Mad? The red-shirted boy asked. Why? Because a grown-up wouldn't let me see Fredbear, and then a grown-up hurt me, and I couldn't see my mama or daddy again. I could only stay there, and it's all because of grown-ups. That's just like us, I said with giant eyes. The man hurt us, all of us. That's because he's a grown-up. All grown-ups want to hurt us. Really? The purple-shirted boy asked. Well, every grown-up at this place does. That's why I want to make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. What are you going to do? I asked. How are you going to do that? I asked. With your guys' help. Us? What can we do? Well, I can't do anything in this puppet thing I found and climbed into after that man hurt me. But you, look where he put your sleeping bodies. We all looked past him and saw our 4 animal friends lying on the ground. I had seen him put their sleeping selves into each of them after I can make you guys control the animals. Then you can hurt the grown-ups for being mean to us. But I thought grown-ups were supposed to help us, the younger girl said quietly. So did I. But look at what they've done to all of us. We then looked at each other. As much as I hated to admit it, this kid/puppet was right. We need to stop grown-ups from hurting anyone else. I just have one question, I told him. What about me? Well, I saw another animal that I think you can go into a room nearby. What kind of animal? It looks like the bear over there, but yellow. Again, Golden Freddy's the same way. We have a more clear understanding of Golden Freddy's origins, and it's not this. I mean, kinda is, but we have a better understanding of the kid, or kids, depending on the theory you're going with, who possess Golden Freddy. And neither of them are this kid. Can I help you, Pepper? Can you please go anywhere that is not directly in front of the screen? Please? She does that on purpose, I swear. Pepper, don't... There. You've done this before. You've done this before, Pepper. She's actually done this before, where she was placing her paw on the power button and actually shut my computer off. Yeah, you're not going to do that here. Okay, good girl. Yeah, she actually did just do that to me the other night. And yeah, I'm not letting her do that again. Especially when we're on a stream. What kind of animal? It looks like the bear over there, but yellow. Yellow? That's my favorite color. So you'll all do it? You'll help me? Sure, I told him. I'll help. Me too, the blue-eyed girl told him. Me 3. Me 4. Me 5. Yay! Okay, I'll help you all into the suits. Wait, I suddenly asked. What? What about the man that hurt us all? The one in the yellow bunny? Don't worry, I know how to make him pay.
Oh yeah, just gonna do the same thing. Gonna do the same thing, but he's trapped. Alright, now back to Eric fighting for his life. Literally. I ran down the hallway in front of the office. I took a glance through the window and saw Springtrap was nowhere to be seen. I really hope he just fell on the floor. I then found myself in the corridor with the Bonnie shell at the end of it. I just need to make a run towards it and make a left. That's when I felt something grab my ankle. I looked down and noticed I was right by the air vent, and a yellow arm was extended out of it with a hand around my leg. I used my free leg to stomp on the animatronic limb a few times. It finally loosened its grip and I slipped out and towards the Bonnie. I then made a left and found myself in the hallway towards the arcade. But I can take a shortcut through the hallway with the Chica light. I made a quick right and bolted towards the end of the hall. From there, I made another right and saw the exit, or rather entrance, in plain sight. I really hope this door is unlocked. But then I saw a familiar figure slowly emerge from the vent by the door. But that's impossible. That vent was sealed off. Unless Springtrap unsealed it? Either way, the robot was right by my source of freedom. So I need to get away from it. That's when I saw a vent right next to me. If my memory is correct, it should be able to take me back to the hallway outside of my office. It's a huge backtrack, but it should at least keep me safe. I quickly crawled through the shaft and climbed down the path. Unfortunately, it was completely dark, so I'm only relying on my sense of sound and touch. I crawled after what seemed like forever. I'm honestly not even sure what time it is, but I don't think hearing the clock ring 6 a.m. is going to make a difference. Suddenly, a light flashed in my face. After thinking of it, I saw a camera right along the edge of the vent, which also appeared to be the source of light. So this is how I can see clearly through the vents. But that's when I heard a whirring noise. I looked forward and saw a grate slowly lower. Shit! I'm being sealed in. I tried crawling even faster, but it was too late. The grate went down. I'm trapped. I looked behind me and saw a vent path that could lead to what I believe to be the arcade. I guess that's my only shot, and maybe I can make it back to the entrance. It was a tight maneuver, but I turned around and went back towards the vent. I crawled as fast as I could towards the arcade opening. When I finally made it out, I looked around and saw the game cabinets were lit up, which is weird because they were off all night. The one that got my attention the most was the newest one. I thought it was supposed to only have those 3 games, but I saw a 4th option on the screen. I walked over to it and looked at it. It read Happiest Day. I then heard footsteps rapidly approaching me. I realized I had more important things to look at than a stupid glitchy game cabinet. I ran out of the arcade and towards the hallway towards the entrance again. After a large sprint, I saw the exit was completely free. No robots, no phantoms, nobody. Don't you do it. Don't you do it, Pepper. No phantoms, nobody. I then ran towards the door and pushed it. I think my heart stopped for a few seconds when I realized it didn't open. I kept pushing it, screaming in terror and frustration. Why aren't these damn doors opening? Surely they should be unlocked from the inside. I heard footsteps from behind me. I looked and saw Springtrap in the doorway to the hallway. Only it was holding something. It looked like long and narrow, like a lead pipe. I looked across from me and saw the open air vent. I can at least make it back to the office from here. I ran to the opening and bent down to climb in. Out of my peripheral vision, I saw a robot sprint towards me. I hurried as fast as I could to get in. I almost had my legs in, but then I felt a sharp pain in my calf as something hit it with a loud thud. As I screamed in pain, I felt something grab my leg tightly and pull on it. I tried putting my hands to the sides of the vent to try and stop myself from sliding. I also kicked with all my strength to loosen the machine's grip on me. Despite my best efforts, I was yanked out of the shaft. When I was out, I looked and saw a yellow arm was tightly on my leg and another one was holding the pipe above me. I moved my body out of the way before the pipe went right down where I would have been. In a last-ditch effort, I reached towards the fallen pipe and grabbed it. I then yanked it out of the robot's hands and I smacked it on the head. Pepper. It let go of my legs as soon as its hand grabbed where I hit it. I quickly got up and swung at it again. This time I was right on top of the head, between the ears.
This time, Springtrap fell completely to the floor, lying on its back. With no thought going into it, I swung the pipe at its face. A loud crack was heard as I did it. I swung again and hit him in the forehead. Crack! I could see a giant split form alongside his head. I didn't care though. I swung again. Crack! This time I hit him so hard that his entire face flew up. Pepper! Calm down, baby girl. You can play, just... You made it a little noisy. Hit him so hard his entire face flew off. When it did though, I stopped swinging and I looked in horror. Under the mask was an animatronic endoskeleton, mushed together with what looked like a human skull. It was red from decomposition, but it was definitely human. I think this finally explains the awful smell. If I had to guess, this body must have been in here for decades. Springtrap then quickly stood up and lunged at me. He tackled me to the ground, and his hands wrapped around my throat. I tried to pry them off, but it was no use. This machine was stronger than human muscles. I stared at Springtrap's glowing animatronic eyes, which were located right in the eye sockets of the skull. I tried gasping for air, but what little breath I did get was filled with the aroma of a rotting corpse. My vision started going black again. I couldn't get any more strength to try and defend myself. This is it. I'm gonna die from a robot. All because the doors were locked. I hope there's a good reason for that. Last thing I saw before blacking out again was the rotten face of the greatest part of our attraction. Okay, going forward with this story, if I... Yeah, the rest of the story is definitely going to be interesting. And full of stuff that I would do differently. Maybe not completely, but there's one element in particular I would absolutely do differently. You'll see. Burning a business. Dude, are you sure we didn't go too far? I'm sure, guy, Eric knows how to take a joke. But faking disappearances? Okay, maybe he'll be a bit pissed, but it'll be perfect for setting him in the mood for the attraction. I guess, man. But was blocking the exits from the outside really necessary? I mean, what if there's like an emergency? That line right there, I would completely take out. I would take that line out of the story because that line in particular just creates such a mean-spirited, awful situation. I'm not sure what I would do to compensate for Eric not being able to get out of the building because of the doors, but that line in particular, I would absolutely not do that again. Like what? You know, the whole faulty wiring thing was a joke. Cause the faking the disappearances thing, like, that's an innocent enough joke. Like, that's just, I mean, it's a sick joke, but you can pass it off as a joke. But I know, but I'm worried, man. Just relax. It's 6 a.m. and we're almost there. That's when we'll head inside and tell Eric everything. I guess you're right. Guy and I were silent for the rest of the car ride over to Fazbear's Fright. I began thinking about what he said, about taking the vanishing prank too far. Sure, Eric can be gullible, but he knows how to take a joke. I'm sure he'll be fine. We finally pulled up to the attraction and walked to the entrance, which had a metal bar across it, locking the door. Oh, no. Oh, no. The building's still in one piece, I told Guy in reassurance. He slowly nodded in response as he adjusted his shades. I pulled the bar off and opened the door. My original plan was to call out Eric in a weird voice from this end to freak him out. Instead, I gasped as I saw a familiar figure lying on his back with his eyes and mouth open, and wasn't moving. Eric! I screamed as I ran towards my friend. I bent down next to him and shook him. His eyes remained open, his mouth remained open, and his chest wasn't rising. I put my fingers on his neck, desperately looking for a pulse. I felt mine rise when I couldn't find his at all. Oh shit! Shit! I screamed as I stood up and turned towards Guy, who was staring at our friend with his jaw on the floor, metaphorically speaking. He's not breathing, I told him. What do you mean he's not breathing? I mean he doesn't have a damn pulse. What happened? I'm not a doctor, dumbass. How should I know? Guy then hustled over to Eric and looked at him closely. Are those bruises on his neck? He finally asked as he raised his shades a bit. I looked, and sure enough, there were large purple areas on his throat that looked pretty fresh. Too fresh. Did someone come in here and strangle him? Guy suddenly asked. How could anyone have gotten in and put the bar back on the door from the outside? I replied with a pounding heart. Well, there aren't any windows. The exterior ventilation is too high up, so what else could it possibly be? Well, the only other solution I could think of is there was someone already in here before we locked it. But dude, we locked it at midnight, right after he went in. Look, Guy, I don't know what happened, but... I then stopped and looked past him. At the end of the hall, standing high and mighty, was the rabbit animatronic we found at the beginning of the week. Only now it seemed to be missing its mask, and I could see a human skull mixed inside the metal head. What is it, man? Guy asked. He then looked around and saw it, too. He froze when he looked at the disturbing sight. What the? He whispered. I thought Cleo didn't fix it, I whispered in response. Same here, man. Let alone make it look terrifying. Suddenly, it got closer, and suddenly it slowly walked towards us, with its footsteps seeming to boom as it got closer. Dude, I don't like this. Me neither. I then stopped. Something didn't smell right. And that's not an expression. Something literally didn't smell right. Guy? Yeah, Chuck? Do you smell that? Oh, you mean the sweaty smell? Sorry, man, that's just me. No, I'm talking about the smoky smell. I then looked back towards the hallway and saw what looked like a small bit of light near the robot's leg. It took a second to realize it was a flame. It's on fire, I gasped. It's burning. The machine then stopped and looked down on itself as if it could hear me. It then started swatting at the flame, trying to extinguish it. Fortunately, all that happened was the fire spread to a hand. I might have been imagining things, but I think it started screaming. It was low-pitched and almost demonic, but it was definitely sounding like some sort of howl. That's when I saw a spark from the fire fly off the robot and onto one of the drawings. Seeing as how this is paper that's nearly 30 years old, it's dry and really flammable. The fire quickly built up and spread to the other drawings next to it. Oh shit, I screamed. Let's get out of here. What about Eric? Guy asked in reply. He's dead, Guy. There's nothing we can do. I then ran out the door and into the parking lot. I looked and saw a Guy right behind me, closing the door behind him in the process. Normally I'd ask why, but it's fairly obvious he didn't want that spring trap thing following us out, for obvious reasons. Yes, the obvious reason is obvious. Why couldn't we have just installed a damn sprinkler system? I asked nobody in particular as I took out my phone to call 911. Dude. I looked up and saw black smoke pouring out of the ventilation shafts on top. The fire was really spreading fast. We made it out just in time. Well, this is perfect, I murmured with a sigh. Murmured with a slight watery feeling in my eye, and not from the smoke. My friend is dead because he couldn't leave, and the business we put so much into is on fire. I put the phone in my ear and waited for the dispatcher to answer. This was going to be fun to explain. Yeah, that's true. So to be clear, Mr. Coffin, the officer concluded as he looked at his notebook, you pretended to go missing for about a week when in actuality you were staying at a motel. Pretty much, the guy replied as he rubbed the back of his head. And Mr. Cameron, you decided it would be a good idea to block all of the exits in the establishment Mr. Jefferson was in. Well, I suppose so. And you claimed the fire started because of faulty wiring in an old animatronic robot. We believe so, yes. Well, we still have a lot to look into about this whole thing. Stay in town until we can figure out what exactly happened. Of course, officer. He then tipped his hat and walked towards his car. I then slowly looked towards the attraction. Suppose it's a real relief that the outside miraculously survived. You would never expect a giant fire occurred inside. The fire department was still firing their hoses into the doorway, trying to extinguish whatever flames remained. Guy and I haven't been allowed inside, but I'm not sure I'd want to go in anyway. Dude, we fucked up big time, Guy said quietly. I know, but how are we supposed to know about that damn robot? We weren't, I suppose. I continued to stare at the building. All this money and time put into the business. wasted. We lost a lot of things in the span of an hour, including our friend's life. To say I felt guilty was an understatement. Excuse me, gentlemen. I turned and saw what appeared to be the head firefighter walking towards us. Yes, I replied. I have a short list of things that survived the fire, he told us as he pulled out a clipboard. What made it? Guy asked. Well, as I said, it's a short one. All we found were a few bobbleheads, an arcade cabinet, and a white clown-looking mask. That's all? Well, that and... He then pointed behind him, and I looked past him. My eyes widened as I did. I could see paramedics rolling a stretcher across the parking lot towards the ambulance. The stretcher was covered in a white sheet, but I could see an unburned human arm hanging down. You mean Eric's body? Call it a miracle, but he was completely untouched from any burns or ash. They're taking him to the hospital to perform an autopsy. I see. I think we should be done extinguishing the flames, he concluded as he turned back towards the building. If you wish to head inside, you may. Thank you, I replied with a nod. He then gave a nod back and went to the fire truck. What do you say, man? Want to look inside? Sure, why not? Okay, I'll be right back. I'm trying to hold it in, but I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright, back. Told you it was quick. Okay. What'd you say, man? Guy asked. Want to look inside? Sure, why not? We then went to the entrance and walked through the doorway. All we could see was black and gray everywhere, save for a perfect outline on the floor where our dead friend was lying. How did he not get burned? I asked quietly to myself. Guy remained quiet, not that I expected him to know the answer. I then walked along the next hallway, where the only thing that wasn't black and crumbled was, as the fireman said, the prize puppet mask. Bit weird how that survived, too. Finally, we got to the arcade, where all the other cabinets were nothing but collapsed metal and wire. However, the only cabinet remaining was at the far end. I recognized it as the newest one we found, the one that worked, the one that was currently on. I walked to it and looked at the screen. I could have sworn there were 3 games on this thing, so why do I see a 4th option called Happiest Day? I selected it and instantly found what looked like a small gray figure in some sort of party. There were tables in the background with a few people wearing what looked like animal masks. They didn't look like any characters from Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, though. I scrolled the character to the left a bit. To the right. It's supposed to be to the right. There's nothing but tables with people wearing masks. What the hell's going on in this thing? Finally, I came across a table where there was only one person. It was gray as well, and it looked sad. Next to the table were 4 more gray people that were wearing masks. Only these ones were recognizable. It was a bear, a bunny, a chicken, and a fox. I moved my character towards the table and towards the crying person. When it touched the table, though, the character stopped, and a giant cake appeared on the table. Why am I even going into detail about this? Why did I even add this part? Legitimately, why did I even add this part? Suddenly, the crying person seemed to open its eyes and look at the cake. Then out of the blue, a mask appeared on his face. It looked like a bear as well, only a lighter shade of gray as the other one. Then all 6 gray figures disappeared, with colorful balloons replacing them and floating away. The only thing left of them besides that were their masks, which fell to the floor. The one that got my attention, though, was the one that appeared in place of my character. It looked like a familiar white mask with purple stripes and a giant smile. Suddenly, the cabinet sparked and shut off. I backed up and screamed when it did. I then looked at the machine. It looked like it was broken for good now. Come on, I told Guy. Let's keep going. We then continued down the hall, looking at all the burnt artifacts along the way. All these things are irreplaceable, and now they're gone. What a waste. Finally, we got to the office doorway and saw everything was charred except the 3 figurines on the desk. It's truly devastating seeing all this destruction. We then walked outside through the exit and looked at each other. What do you think is going to happen to us? Guy asked. Well, the worst I can foresee is getting arrested for manslaughter. Attested for manslaughter? Arrested for manslaughter. Comforting. You asked. I then rubbed my eyes and shook my head. I can't imagine what Eric went through. Was he thinking about us in his final moments? Did he suspect the blocked doors were our fault? Were his last seconds of life spent in anger for what we did? Chuck? What? Did you see this? I opened my eyes and looked in front of me. I remember this one. Yeah, it's supposed to be Guy, but I remember this one. I think I know what Guy was talking about. 5 little kids who seemed to appear out of nowhere. The one in the center had blonde hair and freckles, and he seemed fixated on me and Guy. Then a small smile emerged on his face. Don't worry, he told us. We made sure he was safe. I stared in confusion at the kids. What was that supposed to mean? We thought all grown-ups were bad, he continued, but now we know they're all not. Even though we couldn't save your friend from the man that hurt us, we made sure the fire didn't get him. I continued to stare at him. Was this really happening right now? I know you probably don't understand, he told me. All you need to know is, he'll forgive you eventually. Then in the blink of an eye, they all disappeared. I kept blinking. They were still gone. You saw that too, right? Guy asked. Yeah, I murmured. I then looked up towards the sky. The sun was blaring bright in my eyes as I stared. Was that child serious about Eric, that he'll forgive us eventually? All I know for sure is that we have a hell of a lot to go through still. I just hope it goes as smoothly as possible. Epilogue. I stared at the marble rectangle that marked the spot where my friend was lying 6 feet underground. I read the words again. Eric A. Jefferson, June 20th, 1991 to June 25th, 2017. Okay, 2017. And a fun fact, because again, the story was written in 2015, but when it actually was June 25th, 2017, I actually made a memorial post on my Instagram to mark Eric's death. So that was definitely a fun little immersive thing. I slowly shook my head. I felt like the worst friend in the world. Not only was I partially responsible for his death, but I didn't even acknowledge the man's 26th birthday. Some friend I am. Yeah, and some writer I am, because I totally didn't even think hard about that. I didn't even realize that Eric's birthday was pretty much happening at the same time. So again, this is why you don't release your first draft as the final release, like I did with these stories. Ever since that day Fazbear's Fright burned down, I've been thinking about those children and what the blonde boy told me. I've been asking myself if Eric will forgive Guy and I from beyond the grave. Hey, Chuck. I turned around and saw a familiar man walking towards me. He was tall, had short black hair, and a small black soul patch. Hey, Schmidt, I replied. What are you doing here? Just thought I'd pay my respects. I see. We both then stood there quietly at Eric's grave. I don't know what Schmidt was thinking, but I know I was thinking of what I could have done to prevent my friend's death. I could have dragged his body out of the building. I could have tried CPR. I could have just not blocked the damn doors at all. Suddenly I heard a phone buzzing. Schmidt then took the phone out of his pocket and answered. Hey, he said with enthusiasm and a smile. There was a pause before his smile slowly shrunk. Really? He then waited again. Okay. He then handed his phone to me. She wants to talk to you, he told me. She? Anyway, I took the phone and held it to my ear. Hello? I asked. Hi, the voice on the other end replied. It was definitely a girl. She sounded like she was in her early 20s. Who is this? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mike's friend from Wisconsin. I believe he mentions me sometimes. Oh, yeah, Janine, was it? Jamie, but close enough. So why do you want to talk to me, Jamie? Because I have someone here that I think you need to talk to. Oh? I then heard silence before I heard a voice I never thought I'd hear again. Chuck? I almost dropped the phone in shock. I wanted to believe this was a cruel joke, but how could it be? Eric? I could see Schmidt's eyes widen when I say that. Yeah, it's me, from the afterlife. I just stood there. He was able to talk to me this easily? Wait, so was Schmidt's friend a dead girl? Chuck, I need to ask you something. Sure, anything. It's nothing big. It's just, why did you block the doors? I guess I don't have a good reason. I'm just a terrible person who played a terrible joke. Chuck, you're not a terrible person. You're dead because of my idiotic decision. And on top of that, I forgot your birthday. Huh? My birthday? Don't act stupid, Eric. There was a pause. Oh, that's right. It was my birthday recently, wasn't it? You mean you forgot your own birthday? Huh. I guess I did. I was so focused on the attraction. Oh. More silence. Chuck, there's something you need to know. What's that? There's no way you could have saved me. Huh? I was already dead by the time you found me. I know, but maybe the medics could have revived you. I know you think that, but they couldn't have. I just sighed. I'm really sorry, Eric. Really. You couldn't have known what Springtrap was capable of. Still, I shouldn't have locked the door. Admittedly, maybe you shouldn't have. We're just lucky our lawyers got us out of the manslaughter charges. That's the last thing we need to deal with. I'm sure. So, if you don't mind me asking, what's the afterlife like? It's better than anything I could have imagined. Jamie's been showing me around the place and telling her story of how she got here. How did she get there? Trust me, you don't want to know. Yeah, 52 comments. Trust me, you don't want to know. If you want to know, read the damn books. She was getting eaten out, literally. You really don't. You don't want to know. You really don't. Yeah, you don't want to know. I couldn't eat pizza for a week after I found out. You really don't. Chica did it. Cough, pizza, cough. Oh, poor Jamie. Okay, then. Hey, I'm gonna have to go in a minute, Chuck. This uses up a lot of my energy. Will we ever talk again? Of course. Once I figure out this whole spirit communication thing, I can start calling you from your phone. That's good, I suppose. So, we'll talk again soon then. Okay. And Eric? Yeah? I really am sorry. It's okay. I forgive you. My heart started rapidly beating again. You do? Of course. Nobody has perfect friends, and again, there's no way you could have known what would happen. I suppose. Okay, I really need to go now. See ya, Chuck. See ya, Eric. The phone then hung up. I continued to hold it in my ear for a few seconds before I pulled it away and gave it to its owner. Crazy, right? Schmidt asked in a nervous chuckle. That's an understatement, I replied quietly. Suddenly, my own cell phone rang. I pulled it out and saw it was Guy. Yeah? I asked. Chuck, we have a problem, man. What is it? You know that newspaper article that, talks about the attraction burning down? Of course. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded up clipping. Turns out I took it out and read it again. It burns. Fazbear Fright burns to the ground. A new local attraction based on an ancient pizzeria chain burnt down overnight. Authorities have not ruled out foul play, but at this moment it seems to have been caused by faulty wiring. Very little was found at the scene. The few items that were salvaged will be sold at public auction. What about it? I asked Guy. I was looking at the image next to the article, and, I looked at the picture in question and saw only a black and white image of the Freddy Fazbear figurine that managed to survive the fire. All I see is Freddy, I replied. But, dude, I swear I can see Springtrap behind it. I looked at the picture a bit closer. It was completely pitch black behind the figurine, so it was difficult to see anything. I think you're just seeing things, I replied. You just need to get some rest. Maybe. Alright, man. I'm sorry about that. It's fine. I'll see you tomorrow. Alright, see ya. I hung up and looked at the article again. It's no wonder Guy might be paranoid. No matter how hard the fire department looked, they couldn't find any sign of an animatronic anywhere. It's as if it was never there. This has been an interesting week. I lost my friend, my business burnt down, and there's possibly a homicidal robot on the loose. Guess you could call this whole experience Fazbear Fright. But the end. Boy, what an ending that was. I told you. Everything after that final chase scene just... that was something. Author's note. Whew, talk about feeling proud after hard work. Whatever. I want to thank each of you for reading my 4th Five Nights at Freddy's fanfic. I truly did enjoy writing each and every one of them. That being said, though, I have a topic to discuss. I know I keep being asked to make a story on FNAF 4. I'm here to answer that question. I don't know if I will. Gotta be honest, guys, these stories are wearing me out. I also feel like I can't really do stories I want to on Wattpad because I have to work on a FNAF story. Thankfully, FNAF 4 won't come out until Halloween. Ha 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 ha. Oh, you little ignorant fool. FNAF 4 won't come out until Halloween. Oh, you little ignorant fool. So at least there's a break. Truth be told, it's hurting my head trying to make each new story work into the timeline, especially with each new game having a contradiction in the theory I proposed in the previous stories previous to it. So I'll stress this right now. I will only make a FNAF 4 story if and only if I can make it work with the timeline I created with my fanfics. And instead, what you did was create a story that is not only so boring and just so uneventful and so boring and so generic, and not only that, but you can completely skip over it, never read it, and you miss nothing. So yeah, needless to say, I did write a FNAF 4 story. And yeah. That's next. That'll be next. I can honestly say I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not going to be looking forward to that one. Anyway, that does it for the Fazbear Fright story, and yeah, I'd say it doesn't. So the question is, does it hold up? In the sense, it doesn't hold up in the sense that, we know more about who Purple Guy is, so the way I depicted him was obviously incorrect. The whole part about Chuck and Guy blocking Eric in and ultimately being the reason he died, it feels way too mean-spirited towards the end. So I would find a way to work around that if I could do it again. But I know I keep speaking hypothetically here, but just give a little teaser, a little sneak peek, a little teaser thingy. I do plan to remaster my FNAF stories. I've been hinting at it for a while now about how I've been wanting to do it. I've been wanting to do it. I can confirm now, I will be remastering my FNAF stories. That's all I'll say for now. That's all I'll say for now. Because it's going to be a big project. I'll also say that. It's going to be a big project. That being said, though, yeah, FNAF 4, Living Nightmares, that one's up next. Again, not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to it. And not even in a so bad it's good kind of way. At least Gold Freddy was kind of a so bad it's good, but Living Nightmares, that one's just a so bad it's bad. From what I remember, it's just a so bad it's bad, but guess we'll find out when the time comes. In the meantime, that'll do it for this stream. Thanks for sticking around watching. We're watching the whole thing. Even if you were just lurking, chatting, whatever. Thanks for being here.
Hope you got some enjoyment out of it, and I will catch you next time. Later.